Going to complain too much because that overall would have put them at 5-7 against the 4 first place teams in a row and 7-12 overall in this 19-game gauntlet that they had. And though that's not great baseball, we're not going to champion, going 5 games under 500 at any stretch of the season. But this was a stretch that could have buried them. It could have, washed away all the optimism, all the hope about this team getting to October. And now they get a stretch of, 3-4 weeks in a row until the All-Star break, really, where they'll see 2 teams with a winning record, being the Cleveland Guardians coming up at the end of June, and they'll see the Boston Red Sox right before the All-Star break. Of course, that Boston series now huge because the Red Sox are chasing Kansas City for a wild card spot. Yeah. But I walk away just a little bit relieved because if they can get to July 1st, and they're still 8, 9, 10 games over 500, hopefully more than that with the easy stretch they have of games here, you're going to look at them as being buyers. And I think if you get to July 1st and you're playing 10 games over, 15 games over, you probably can convince yourself at that point it's playoff baseball time, that you are going to get to the playoffs, still 2 months to go or 3 months to go. But at that point, July 1st, you pretty much know who your team is going to be. The Royals aren't going to lose 16, 17 in the row and all of a sudden be way out of the playoff picture. You can probably see at that point, by September, the Royals are either going to be holding on to a playoff spot or right there within striking distance of it. And this June stretch, we're going to look back on in September and either be fortunate that they didn't bottom out there, or if they miss out in the playoffs by a game or two, maybe they did need that extra win or two against the Dodgers or the Yankees.
Yeah, right now the Royals sit second place in the AL wild card standings, just a half game ahead of the Minnesota Twins, 7 games back of Baltimore, and they are, 3.5 games up on Boston. What did you make of Brady Singer's start? Because for the most part, I think you have to be pretty thrilled. A quality start against a lineup that the Dodgers have. You're pretty excited about, obviously, 3 pitches, which I think is still always a little bit unfair, because when you say 3 pitches, those are the 3 that were hit out. What about the ones that he hung that were not hit out, and then all of a sudden you get under until a pop fly, right? I think it's a little unfair way to look at how he pitched in this game. But overall, 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 runs, and then obviously Shohei, the 2 no-doubters, and then the back-to-back with Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I think that you can walk away feeling, satisfied with what Brady Singer gave you, because this is an incredible lineup, and he got beat by the best players in that lineup. He got beat by Shohei Ohtani twice, and he got beat by Freddie Freeman. So 6 innings, 3 runs, that's another quality start. And I think it was the first series that the Dodgers have played an opponent, and that opponent has 3 quality starts in a row, or quality starts throughout the whole series. Hadn't happened since last August against the Miami Marlins. Wow. So it was impressive for Reagans, Lugo, and Singer to maybe not always bring their A game, but at bare minimum their B game or their B-plus game. And for Singer, I love the 4-seam fastball usage. He threw his changeup a little bit more. And Josh Kaiser, who is coming on at noon, right? He actually talked to me a little bit he noticed that, I'm not going to take credit for it, he noticed that Singer was calling his game yesterday Freddie Freeman was behind the plate last time out against the Yankees. Salvi was behind the plate. Salvi probably gets priority against the younger pitchers to call the game. But it appeared, at least from time to time, or at least early on in that start, Brady Singer was the one putting the signals into PitchCom, which, take it for what it is, he threw a lot more four-seamers. I think he finished around 17 or 18 four-seamers and I think around 7 changeups, something in the ballpark of that.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've been begging for with Brady Singer. And I think more than anything, it was important that he saw good results from it. We can walk away and say, well, he gave up 3 solo home runs. Well, solo home runs for the most part aren't going to kill you. Yesterday, the Royals lost because Tyler Glasnow was unhittable, as he's been pretty much all season long.
Yeah, Singer, once the first one, the 451-foot bomb to Shohei, once that went out, game was over. The Royals were not touching Tyler Glasnow, Daniel Hudson, and then Evan Phillips holding it down for the 10th save on the season for him. But I'm sitting here, and I know some of the pushback we're going to get, and I've got it myself when I said, all right, I'm not thrilled by the 2-5 stretch against the Yankees and the Dodgers. I said 3-4 was where against one game off. It's not like it's some crazy astronomical difference. 3-4 I think makes you feel better. 2-5 you're sitting here going, wow, that's one game, but it makes you just feel a little different. But some of the pushback I've gotten is, well, yes, the Royals stayed afloat. These are the teams you want to play and have success with come playoff time. Dodgers, obviously, that wouldn't be to the World Series. Yankees, who knows? These are playoff teams. And you kind of got your ass kicked in 5 of the games, and then you came back and won, and then you destroyed the Dodgers in Game 2, based on MJ Melendez's grand slam, which we can get to in a little bit. So part of me is sitting here going, I get where those people are coming from, and I know expectations change. But when you are a 100-loss team and all of a sudden the next year you're expecting to go 500 against the Yankees and Dodgers and say, you know what, that's a playoff team, you're going to have to beat them in the playoffs. While I do agree with that statement, I feel like we maybe are rushing into this just a little too much. Maybe we're not in 14. Maybe this is more 13, but the Royals still make the playoffs. I feel like sometimes we're acting like it's 15 because we've been starved for success here. I'm not saying don't hope. I'm not saying don't dream. I'm not even telling you how to fan. If you think that going 2-5 is abysmal and you're pissed off, that's your right to do that. I'm just going to try and look at this through a bigger picture here and say, all right, 2-5 against those 2 teams. Yes, those are playoff teams. The 2 best teams pretty much in the AL and the NL. You know where the Royals stack up now. You know where they need to improve. The bullpen, somewhat corner outfielder, though MJ Melendez somewhat helped that argument there. This was a measuring stick series, and the Royals clearly are not there yet.
Yeah, and I just don't know if they're ever going to get to that point where they are considered equal to or better than the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees in Baltimore are going to win anywhere from 105 to 110 wins. We could look at a series in June and say, if the Royals let's say the Royals swept the Yankees last week. I don't know if I would have looked at a series in October and gone back to that series in June and said, well, the Royals are technically better or as good as the Yankees because they swept them in June. It's the same way we look at regular season games in the NFL, right?
Sure.
If somebody gets the best of the Chiefs, that doesn't make them better than the Chiefs or better equipped to beat them in the playoffs. It's good to visually see you beat that team. But I look at the Dodgers and I look at the Yankees. The reality is the Royals are not going to be those teams. And what you hope for is by the time you roll into October, you are a playoff team and it's anybody's game at that point. The pressure's on them. The pressure's not on you. And, I'm never going to be a gatekeeper for a fan base, but I understand a lot of people being starved. You live game to game, and you look at series like that where you let a game slip away, like Friday night against the Dodgers, and you feel frustrated. But it's going to happen when you play a team that is just better than you. I mean, the Dodgers, we're not going to sit here and debate whether the Royals are better than the Dodgers. The Dodgers are better. The Yankees are better. Baltimore is better. Seattle is better than the Royals.
Oh, that's the one where I might give some pushback.
I think in a 3-game series, which they're going to win the American League West, it looks like.
Sure.
The rotation, stuff like that. If they're not better, they're equal, in my opinion.
I'd say equal.
Just because I think I'd take, as good as the Royals' rotation has been, I think Seattle's like 3 or 4 deep with their rotation.
Sure.
Royals feel traditionally too deep with that rotation. But again, it's anybody's game. I take the Royals' offense over Seattle for sure. But at the end of the day, This, to me, is about getting your foot in the door, and then you see what happens. I know I've talked to some people, and they said, well, I'm not going to be too satisfied if they get a wild card berth, they play the wild card series against Seattle or Baltimore and get crushed in 2 games and get swept. Well, I mean, I look at it in the way of that you had competitive baseball for 162. You got in a year after losing 106. And I also don't think this team is going to get their ass kicked in a playoff series. I think they would find a way to either compete in both two, maybe find a way to force a Game 3 an elimination game. But I just don't know that a series in June or a series in July, for that matter, against a playoff team is going to make me feel differently come playoff time if the Royals see them again. If the Royals see the Yankees again, I'm not really putting too much stock into what I saw. It's a completely different beast. It's playoff baseball. You manage differently. Your lineups are different. Your situational, moments are different than a series in June, right? If you're down 2-0 and it's game 1 of a series in June, you might go to a guy who hasn't thrown in a while. You're going to your best guys at that point in time. So that's why I just kind of think you throw it out. No, the Royals aren't there, but I don't see the Royals being equal to a team that's going to win 110 games this year.
I mean, Hunter Renfroe and Shohei's contract were very similar.
That's very true.
Similar contracts there. And Yamamoto and Seth Lugo, very similar as well. I do want to talk about Seth Lugo. This, to me, was a huge bounce back for him against a phenomenal lineup. He had 2 chances the past 2 weeks to really make an impact, to be that stopper. Didn't happen. And then we were left with both those past games of Seth saying, well, he was able to get through 6, get through 7. He was able to find a way to settle down and save the bullpen a little bit. And my pushback was, that's what you say last year. That's moral victories of a 100-loss team, where Jason and I were laughing going, sure doesn't feel like a 100-loss team. Yeah, but you are. You are in playoff contention now, and you brought in Seth Lugo not to be a moral victory guy, but to be a winner. Now he's outperformed, but he bounced back. I thought this was a huge performance from him against the Dodgers. In your mind, how big was it for him to get right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny with Seth Lugo, as good as he's been. We looked at last time out, 7 innings, 4 runs against the Yankees, is like his 6 innings and 2 runs against the Dodgers was the bounce back. Like, I think when I watched that start against the Yankees last Monday, it was good to eat the innings because it was game 1 of a series. If that was game 3, I couldn't really care less because, your bullpen should be fine at that point. Seth Lugo did save the bullpen in game 1, and it might have given them a little bit of a fresher look going into that 4th and final game in the series. But that was huge. That reminds me a lot of that start in Minnesota in game 3, I think it was, when they were at Target Field at the end of May, because the Royals had lost with Marsh, they had lost with Reagans. They needed that big boy start against a very good lineup when the team wasn't playing that well. And the Royals that week had not been playing well. They had blown a game in game 1 against the Dodgers, and Lugo was huge in that game on Saturday. So it's great to see him at this point in the season get to 10 wins, the first pitcher in the AL to get to 10 wins this season. He's leading the league.
We all guessed that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you threw 5 on it? You threw 5 on it, Jack?
I threw 10 on it.
Wow.
I was that
Stones.
confident in it.
Stones.
But, he's thrown 97 innings. He's going to eclipse 100 probably going into this finale against Oakland on, I think that'll be Thursday, I believe it is. What more could you ask for from Seth Lugo? I mean, he is such a steady hand. He bridges the gap in the rotation a little bit. And when you can go from Reagans to Lugo in any series, you feel pretty good about, at bare minimum, grabbing 1, regardless of the opponent. And I don't think you could have said that even on some of the 14 and 15 teams where the Royals went so deep into the playoffs.
We teased it. MJ Melendez. Yeah. I have no idea what to make of the guy. 0 idea. Sometimes he comes up big in the biggest moments. Other times he looks like he's swinging a pool noodle underwater. I don't know what to make of MJ. I mean, in the 7-2 victory over L.A., he was the reason why. That grand slam off of Blake Trinan, who, by the way, Trinan had been nails. Trinan in a Dodgers uniform is unfair. Trinan in a Oakland A's or a Dodgers uniform is just a stud. Trinan back with the Dodgers, and he gave that grand slam to MJ. Great at bat. What do you make of MJ at this point? Is he just a guy who can run into one at any given point? Because the consistency still isn't there, but he did bounce back yesterday with a hit, 1 of the 3, right? Mm-hmm. Where are you at on MJ Melendez right now?
I think that you have to look at the sample size here. You have to look at the workload. I mean, in the last week, I think MJ Melendez has been pretty good. You go back to his game-tying home run against Seattle last Sunday, and in that week leading up to the performance on Sunday, I think that he has had some fantastic at-bats, that you've seen the power come back a little bit. He hit safely in all 3 games of that Dodgers series, and I'm not sold that he's fixed. It's a good thing to see. I think more than anything, it's confidence, right?
Sure.
If you can have that confidence, you feel good about it. I'm not sold he's there yet, but if I am going to just look at past history, this is kind of coming up at the point in time last year where MJ Melendez took off again, where the second half of the season was very impressive. And that, to me, is why the Royals did not demote him. Not they saw this stretch coming. Not that they saw him bouncing back in such a quick way. But the reality was he's done it before. They believe he can do it again. And you feel good about a stretch like that.
Yeah. When I look at MJ Melendez, I screams inconsistency, but yet I feel more comfortable, I think, with MJ over Dairon Blanco. I know at one point this year, like, let's see what Dairon Blanco has. He's a really solid 4th outfielder. Dairon Blanco's a really solid bench piece. He's not a guy I want starting every single game, especially with Hunter Renfroe out. I'm now talking myself into I want to see a lot more MJ, and I think here, Jack. This is called growth, by the way. What I'm about to say and what I'm about to do, Jack. This is growth. I think I want to see MJ Melendez more than Drew Waters.
Wow,
that pains me.
Full circle.
That hurts.
You have come full circle.
But I think I want to see, while Hunter Renfroe's out for however much longer it's going to be, more MJ than Drew Waters.
And I think the Royals are right there with you. I think the Royals would like to see MJ Melendez get going more than I think they would, envision Drew Waters getting going. And that's the way we saw the lineup be constructed, too. Waters played once in L.A., and he played once against the Yankees, and that was Game 2.
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, Game 2, and then he came in as a pinch hitter in Game 4. I always look at MJ Melendez, though, and it's not a popular take. It's not a sexy opinion, if you will. The upside, even if he is hitting 160, 170, 180, it can lead you to things that happen on Saturday, where it's the 12-pitch grand slam. And I just go back constantly to last year that right before the All-Star break, there was a point in time where we all collectively had the feeling of he just needs to go get right in Omaha. The Royals decided to stick with him. They decided to stick with him in the second half, and he was an above-average league hitter. And the Royals, I think, are banking on that happening in the second half because it goes back to this question. Is your lineup better with a second-half MJ Melendez that we saw last year, or is it better with Drew Waters? Is it better with Nelson Velasquez playing every day? Is it better than trading for a guy that, a Taylor Ward? Those are all questions.
I think it's better with Taylor Ward, but I think the second best option, if you're sticking here in-house, I do think it's MJ. When MJ's going right, it is better than Drew Waters. As much as I like Drew Waters, it is better than Nelson Velasquez just based on defense because Nelson can only play DH. It's probably better than Hunter Renfroe. But the issue is MJ ever going to consistently hit that stretch again, or is that one of those stretches that you just sit here and go, how can he capture that again? Because we had the same thing with Alberto Mondesi. We all would picture these stretches of Mondesi and say, how can they capture this and make it into an elongated stretch? It never happened. Can it happen with MJ? Now, MJ's not been injured the same way Alberto has, so that maybe gives him some chance to have something click and stay longer. And what I see with MJ, and what I think the Royals are probably seeing as well, I'll get a little nerdy with some folks, so I apologize if you're listening on the road right now. I'm going to throw a couple numbers out. Stick with me for a second. He's batting 171, on base 233, slugging 352, OPS of 585. That's brutal. That's atrocious. His expected, again, nerdy, I get it. His expected batting average, 239, still not good. It's a huge jump. His expected on-base percentage, 315. Another massive jump. His expected slugging is 440. Right now, everything being equal, he's expected to slug, or OPS right now, 755. Well, 755 is an above-average hitter. Average is about a 720 OPS. So I wonder if the Royals are seeing this and saying, we need to give him time because the expected numbers, which I always say in baseball means a lot more than football. Football, 17 games. Baseball, 162. The math in 162 are probably going to even out. The math in 17, you got to get right. You got to be right then and there. So I wonder if the Royals see these expected numbers and say, we got to keep getting them out there because eventually those are going to be the real numbers.
It also helped, too, that Hunter Renfroe had the stretch that he did from, the mid part of May until he got injured, because they have a little bit of ammo now of, well, we stuck with a guy, he gave us a good stretch, and that's what I go back to over and over again. MJ Melendez, for a playoff push, doesn't need to be fantastic for the final 3.5 months or 4 months here, more so 3.5. But if he can give the Royals a month, if he can give them a month and a half, that can be the difference in holding on to a playoff spot and not when it's all said and done.
Oh, and that's what I was basically even alluding to. And the expected numbers aren't something crazy.
They're good enough.
They're good enough. They're good enough for a 6-hitter in the Royals line, maybe even a number 5 if Michael Massey's injury and back continues to plague him. Because I think when Michael Massey comes back, that obviously elongates your offense just based on the power he brings at second base, although he never walks, which is interesting. But I mean, I'm looking at the percentiles of MJ and where that would place him. 31st in batting average, right? Not good. 45th on base. Okay, that's average. You're getting to average. And then the 65th in slugging. Above average. Still, the Royals need that. They need that power. They need the guy who can get on base with some pop. And by the way, to give MJ some credit here, if I've ripped on him a lot all year long, to give the guy some credit, his defense has improved dramatically. Depending on the numbers you look at, he's been about a push, a wash, 0 runs saved versus given up. He made a great play against the Dodgers. His arm has been incredible, which obviously should be expected as a former catcher.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to give credit to a guy who went off and worked. And we talked to Les about this before. Just if you're a catcher, you get thrown into all of a sudden left field. You haven't really played left field before. Now you're there in Kaufman. You're coming after Alex Gordon, maybe one of the best left fielders defensively in baseball history. Expectations are high for a good fielding left fielder. He was horrendous. If we're giving Bobby Witt Jr. all this credit for improving defensively, now Bobby Witt took a lot bigger jump. I want to give MJ credit, too, for not only improving defensively, but also trying to now couple this with a complete revamp in the middle of the season at the plate.
Well, I mean, not a lot of people know this, too, about MJ, but before he got called up to Kansas City, they had tried to put him at a couple different positions. They tried him at first base. They tried him at third base. He gets up to the big league level. They finally commit. He's a catcher. We're going to work on him with being a catcher. And last year in the offseason, he spent a long time, and a lot of time for that matter, working on his skills behind the plate. And then in April, the Royals make the decision, well, we're going to have Salvador Perez behind the plate, and we're going to move you to right field. Okay, so people who are not as familiar with, the corner outfield spots, it's really hard to learn right field. It's not like when you're 11 and 12 years old, you stick the kid out there who doesn't play, he's not very good in right field. It is really difficult to learn right field, especially if you've been a catcher your whole life. And what they saw with MJ Melendez was he's incredibly athletic. Okay, they see he could make that transition. So no wonder it was ugly last year because he went from right field and then to left field, so he made that jump again. It was going to be ugly because he hasn't played that position. So no wonder that this offseason where he just purely worked on being an outfielder, he improved his game a lot. And he deserves credit for that. Now the offense has severely lagged behind. And I think for a lot of people, you'd rather see the player be better at the plate than in the field because our eyes, our interest in baseball is always drawn toward the offense. A guy can hit 300, 30 home runs, 120 RBIs, and he may be awful defensively. We don't really care that much because you're that good of a hitter.
Manny Ramirez.
There you go. And for MJ, he's improved defensively, but unfortunately the overshadowing thing here is that he struggles so much offensively. But if you can take this small sample size this week, 3 home runs this week, he's walked a little bit more. He hit safely in the Dodgers series. If it was a confidence thing, that's a huge series to have your best series of the year off of. And we'll see what happens now against lesser pitching. You get Oakland, okay? And then you're going to get Texas, and Texas has a couple of great arms, but they're also really banged up in the rotation. Then you get the Marlins, okay? So MJ Melendez has a chance here right before the All-Star break to get a little bit of a spark. It's just 1 week right now, but as we just talked about, Hunter Renfroe gave the Royals a month, and all of a sudden we're like, man, get Hunter Renfroe back up to the plate. He's hitting well.
We're starved for any success in the corner outfielders.
We are.
That's what it comes down to. And by the way, going into this year, imagine saying that the Rangers would be a nice little reprieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Rangers. Nice little reprieve for the Kansas City
Only
Royals.
because of injuries.
Yeah. We'll take a break. Come back. More Zone next. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to the Zone. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. We'll be joined by Mick Schaefer at 1, Josh Kaiser at noon. At some point, we'll talk about the U.S. Open, talk about Bryson DeChambeau. One of the best shots you'll ever see in a major. Dylan shaking said he understands the difficulty of that 55-yard bunker shot. That is like one of the, if not the toughest shot in golf.
The announcer said what he had to do to get a good lie, basically, and he hit the exact shot that the announcer said.
I don't know how they analyzed this. I saw some numbers circulating the X, and it said getting it within 4 feet, which he did, had a 1.7% chance of happening from where he was at. So he was part of the 1.7% chance of actually making that happen. And then also what it means for Rory McIlroy and 2 missed putts inside of 4 feet. Just a choke job as USA chants reigned out Pinehurst. Number 2. Pinehurst, number 2. All right. We're going to do a little fun game here. Dylan, you're in. You don't have a choice. You're in. Jack, you're in.
I'm in.
You're in. I'm in. Top 5 guys in the Royals bullpen, counting down from 5 to 1. This is a level of trust, okay? It's hard. It's hard. 5 dudes you trust in the bullpen. I know we don't trust 5. The point is, on a trust level, we have to come up with 5 bullpen arms. And part of this exercise is also going to show how much damn help the Royals need in the bullpen. All right, number 5. I'll go first. Will Smith. I hate it. I don't love it. He's been on a heater recently. Not a ton of high leverage situations by any means. Not really a ton of middle level situations. But he's been pretty good. Ever since the debacle of the start of the season, Will Smith has quietly calmed down. I think everyone's going to still have that in mind because the overall numbers still aren't looking very good for Will Smith when you have a 5.4 ERA. But he is in the 93rd percentile of hard hit, right? He gives a lot of weak contact. I don't necessarily trust him, but that's where the Royals bullpen's at right now, that Will Smith comes in at number 5 for me.
I don't think it's a bad pick at all. Will Smith's my number 5 guy in the bullpen at this point in time because he has a 1.42 ERA in his last 15 outings. I thought the pitch that he made on Friday night to Freddie Freeman, it was outside the zone. It was a good pitch. He doesn't have overpowering stuff, and that's what's going to happen to you from time to time when you don't pump it in at 99, 100. But yeah, I think he's pretty firmly in my number 5 spot for the Royals bullpen.
Yep. Will Smith as well. I just think his postseason appearances, and you kind of bank on that, hoping that he can find some sort of confidence and be some serviceable asset in the bullpen, and I think he can. So more so than the other people.
So I thought that was going to be semi-hot. It was not. Will Smith, number 5. Number 4, I'm going to another lefty, Zerpa. Zerpa, number 4 for me. The ERA is phenomenal, 1.98. Zerpa, I think, is firmly entrenched in the Royals bullpen for the rest of the year. I don't necessarily love him in high leverage situations. I think he's their best go-to lefty when you throw a 96-mile-an-hour sinker, solid slider. You're going to get a lot of either weak contact, swing and miss. His ground ball rate is 95th percentile in baseball. But the issue is he doesn't get that weak contact. The issue is he gives a lot of hard contact. He doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. Strikeout numbers aren't bad, but if you're looking at some underlying numbers that you would say expect some regression. Because the underlying numbers, his whiff percentage, 1st percentile. That's really bad. I mean, that's real bad. Chase percentage, 1st percentile. He's not throwing a lot of those sliders out of the zone and getting swing and misses. It's that better hit the zone, and you better hope they ain't swinging. Because his hard hit percentage is also the 2nd percentile. So, what do you make of this? He gets a lot of hard contact, doesn't get a lot of swing and miss, doesn't walk a lot of guys, but all that hard contact, for the most part, has been on the ground. So, is it sustainable when you have a infield that the Royals have that's very, very good, where if it's 97-mile-an-hour screamer on the ground, Michael Garcia is going to make a play? Or are you sitting here going, yeah, that's fine and all. He's been good, but expect some regression.
I think when the Royals go out there and make a move for a guy or two, we're not really looking at Angel Serpa as the 7th or the 8th inning guys. He's had to have been a couple of times this season. I don't put him that low on my list, though. I probably put him a little bit higher. I got Sam Long number 4 on my list,
Okay.
And that probably says more about the Royals bullpen than anything. But there's only 8 guys, 8-9 guys in the bullpen, and Sam Long, hasn't given up a run yet. He does struggle with walking a little bit of guys, but for Serpa, is it sustainable? I mean, he's running it up now 97, 98, hit 99 a few times against the Yankees, I think it was, with his sinker. So as long as he can locate it, which this season he's been able to, I think there's going to be a slight regression as we've seen, but maybe not as severe as we're expecting.
Yeah. So I have Zerpa 4. You have Sam Long 4. Dylan, who do you have 4?
Actually, the same as Jack. I had Sam Long 4, then Zerpa 3.
Okay. I have Sam Long 3. So like we're all pretty close.
Same ballpark, basically, yeah.
And again, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. We're talking about Sam Long and smaller sample size than Zerpa, but Sam Long, we talked about 10 games, just under 10 innings, 9 2/3, 0 ERA. But what I like with Sam Long, what I've seen so far from the underlying numbers, there's less reason for a massive regression. Now, obviously, I don't think he's going to have a 0 ERA all season long. That would be absurd. But when you look at what he's done, his hard hit percentage, his strikeout numbers, his whiff percentage, a lot more sustainable. The walks, yes, are an issue. That could plague him. But he really doesn't give up a lot of hard contact, and he has better swing and miss stuff overall. The walks and hits per innings, that also stands out to me, 0.72. Again, don't expect 0.72 all year long, but what Sam Long has done so far to me, while yes, been phenomenal, I don't think it's anything that's not sustainable. There's nothing underlying that makes me think he's going to just all of a sudden have a 4 ERA. So that for that reason, I have Sam Long number 3.
I think that's a fair assessment of it because I do think the advanced numbers on Sam Long are better than Angel Serpa's. But for me, with a bullpen guy, I think what it comes down to and why I have Serpa ahead of him, Serpa throws strikes, Sam Long struggles to a little bit.
Fair.
And if Sam Long can get back in the zone, we might see some of those great numbers, the whiff percentage, right, the expected ERA go down a little bit, or the expected ERA go up a little bit. It's probably just the workload as well. Angel Serpa, his numbers, I guess the data hasn't always looked great with him this season. But, man, when you have a sinker baller that throws 97, 98 and has control with it, that's why I got to put him in number 3. And also the amount of times he's come in this year. I mean, he next to Schreiber, has kind of been seen as that workhorse in the bullpen. And I also love the mentality. That's an old school baseball thing, but from everything they've said about Angel Serpa, he's just he's not scared by any situation. He's not afraid to work inside. I mean, we remember in the COVID year, right after the COVID year, actually it was 2022. I got that wrong. He made a start in the COVID series against the Blue Jays when all those Royals players couldn't make the trip, and he was like 21. And he had to face Vladdy Jr.
Yeah.
He had to face, all those great Toronto hitters back then. In one of the more loaded lineups in the American League, and he was throwing 95, 96 up and on the fists of some of those guys and working up and in.
Was that when Josh Donaldson, I believe, got really pissed off? There was one when one of the players got really pissed off.
I think that was 15.
Was that still 15?
Yeah, because the Royals had 2 or 3 bench clearing, not brawls, but bench clearing altercations against the Blue Jays that year. Now, this year was that was 2022. It was, before they traded Whit Merrifield when the 13, 14 players couldn't make the trip and Serpa had to make a spot start. And that was, to me, when he kind of won me over because he's 21 years old, sold-out crowd, all-star hitters in the lineup, and he's throwing 95, 96 on the fist, and they're looking back out at him, and he really showed no reaction. So for me, I want that in a bullpen pitcher. And so, I wish that he didn't get hit as hard or he got a little bit more swing and miss. But if he's the third best guy in your bullpen or fourth best guy, great stuff to have.
Yeah. All right, so who's your 3?
Serpa's my 3.
Zerpa's your 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said Zerpa's your 3. So
Yep.
so far, we're all the same boat, 3, 4, 5, just a little different order. But we all have Will Smith, Zerpa, Sam Long. We all have 3 lefties.
Trend.
Interesting. All right, number 2. I have John Schreiber. I don't love it. John Schreiber's really come down to earth recently. He's been solid. I think that he's a fine bullpen arm. Yeah, I don't. There's not much else to say about him. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. I think his best attribute is, 1, the movement he gets on his pitches, but 2, it's the arm angle. I think that really helps him get and produce more weak contact. People have had a very difficult time barreling him up this year. John Schreiber's my number 2. He has been the workhorse. It was Chris Stratton for a little bit. Chris Stratton really...
He's not throwing as much anymore.
He's not throwing as much anymore. So I'll go John Schreiber, too.
I'm so torn between the top 2 guys, and I think everybody knows who the top 2 are. And, I would like to say that Schreiber's my number 1, but I think he is. It's so close for me, actually.
Yeah.
I will stick with my choice of James McArthur being number 2 because maybe a little bit of recency bias, because we can say, Schreiber has struggled. He puts on a lot of guys. After April, we have seen maybe why Boston was inclined to trade him. They envisioned, a bullpen guy that you always had to be on pins and needles with. Now, the overall numbers, if you just look at the ERA, right, you're going to be pretty satisfied with what John Schreiber has given the Royals.
Oh, I'm still satisfied season long, but it also, I think, paints a picture of when he's your second-best bullpen arm, or at least top 2, 1 or 2, that paints, I think, a larger issue at hand.
And I think John Schreiber will get a lot better when the Royals go out and acquire an arm or 2 that puts him to the 6th-inning guy or the 7th-inning guy, which is probably what he was closer to in Boston. In fact, I remember in 2022, that was his role. He was the 6th-inning guy. He was the 7th-inning guy. And I think he is going to be number 1 on my list because just over the course of the season been far more steady than James McArthur has, who is my number 2. I think McArthur has the best pure stuff with the movement, the horizontal run on his 2-seam sinker. His curveball is great, but it kind of feels like you're throwing a dart at the dartboard in the dark. When it's a closing situation, it's a 1-run game. We could get the James McArthur we saw back in May or mid-May or April, or we can get the James McArthur that we saw against San Diego, against Milwaukee, against, I'm blanking on the other team that it was Seattle, when he blew that game. You don't know what version you're going to get, and it oftentimes comes back to me, it's a simple thing. If he falls behind in the count, you're going to get the bad version of James McArthur. He gets ahead, 0-1, 0-2, 1-2. He can set up that curveball that is his best pitch, let's be honest with you. But I got to go over the course of the season, the hit and miss. I think James McArthur hits and misses a lot more than John Schreiber has over the course of these 72, 73 games.
It all started with Whitehorse. It all started when James McArthur got it's a great song. I just saw Chris Stapleton on Wednesday.
Last week,
Yeah, great concert. Phenomenal. I also love Alan Stone, Marcus King Band. So if anyone listening right now is like, yeah, I know Chris Stapleton, check out Alan Stone, check out Marcus King Band. They're killer. They're awesome. It all started, though, when he got the walk-in song. Can we agree? Can we agree? He got a walk-in song. We all got excited and said, oh, my gosh, first Royals walk-in song since, was it Greg Holland?
It was Herrera.
Since Herrera. And what happened? What happened, Dylan? Got shelled.
Yep.
Well, he did go on his impressive stretch of closing out games when he took over for Will Smith, and he was going out to Whitehorse. They just hadn't done. That was his song. Maybe we can more so put the emphasis on the closer entrance.
It was the entrance.
The song, Chris Stapleton is not the problem.
Good point.
Great song.
It's the lights flickering. Now, at least when I went out to the game against, might have been Seattle, one of those games in the series, he entered the Bulls on parade. Now, it wasn't a closer situation.
Song slaps, though.
It'd be great for a closer's entrance, but I haven't seen him enter as the closer in quite some time now, at least in person yet. So maybe it has changed, because I know that he walked out to Bulls on parade when he was coming in the 8th inning of one of those games.
Rage against him. He's raging against the machine that is the batter.
Yeah.
That's what he needs.
They just,
28th.
I mean, find somebody that can really live up to the closer entrance, because
closer
that's
entrance,
something I think we all want to see again.
Yeah. All right, Dylan. So I think we're on the same page.
I was going to say, so do we all like have
Schreiber,
MacArthur?
I'm
and
MacArthur
Schreiber?
one. Yeah, it's 1-2, and the point I was trying to make with doing this exercise is the Royals have about 4 guys I think you kind of like to have in your bullpen, right? You like having Zerpa, you like having Sam Long, you like having Schreiber, you like having MacArthur. Will Smith at this point has been fine. Let's just say those top 4, though, right? We're all comfortable with those 4. But the issue is those 4 are your best 4, and those 4 are basically your only 4. The Royals really need to get 2 guys. In my opinion, 2 guys, one for the 8th, and a legit closer. I like MacArthur. I do. He's not a 9th inning guy. If he's your 8th inning guy, I can live with it. If Schreiber's your 7th inning guy, fine. The way Sam Long's been pitching, if you want to switch it up based on lefty-righty matchups or Zerpa, I'm cool with it. But the Royals, in my opinion, really need a back end of the bullpen guy. We can talk about it when we come back because I know there's some rumblings of names, but that's what I wanted to do with this exercise here. Say the Royals have 4 guys I think we all somewhat enjoy having on the team. But they ain't 8th and 9th inning guys. They're not deserving of the closer entrance. We'll take a break, come back, more Zone next. Take a break. When we come back, more Royals talk, U.S. Open talk. I do want to talk a little Chiefs with you as well, Jack. But I think one of the interesting names being floated around was Michael Kopech. It was Phillies, Yankees, and Royals all being thrown out in the Michael Kopech, and they're doing their due diligence. Take that as you will, their due diligence. I'm just going to go ahead and say, Jack, I've been screaming for like a year and a half about the Royals going out and getting Michael Kopech. What do you think?
Gives them power. Lots of power, but it's an in-division trade.
Yeah, but the White Sox have like half the Royals staff anyways.
They do. I'm curious, though, if the price is a little bit higher for the Royals. They can trade
especially since they took the bad Royals. They took the bad Royals.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels, Josh Kaiser at noon, Mick Schaefer at 1. We'll play some learned, funniest, best. One of the best was Father's Day yesterday. We got some Minsky's pizza, that barbecue pizza at Minsky's. Got some beer, top notch. Took the doors off the Jeep, too.
Ooh.
Took that off on Friday.
That's a lot of work.
Heading to soft. It's not that bad. They're slightly heavy because, I mean,
They love that stuff, Jack.
It's
They
a car
love it.
door. Oh, yeah. So it's like being vegan or like CrossFit. Having
Yep.
a Jeep, you have to eventually insert yourself into
Do you
the
do that
conversation.
wave every time you see a Jeep?
Yes, 100%. I'm that ass.
It's got that tow cable in front just in case
I don't.
anyone's in a ditch.
Shoot, do I? I don't actually have that. No, I don't have that. I do have 3 little rubber ducks, though, because sometimes they leave you rubber ducks. The Jeep thing where they leave them on your car.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Okay? It's like being in a part of like the Corvette guys.
Yep.
But we're way less. I can't say the word. We're reserved. No, I don't want.
Better watch out. There could be somebody that drives a Corvette.
I know.
listening.
I'm being a smart
in
ass
their
right
Corvette
now.
listening to you. saying
Corvette
that.
guy.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Corvette guy.
They got a Corvette, though.
Corvette Stingray's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, the new Corvettes are pretty cool, but there's a certain area, and like, come on, guy, that's not a Lambo. Come on, Chief. Come on. Everyone knows Corvette guy. I'm sorry. Someone had to say it.
That much of a car guy.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
I'm not either. But I took the doors off. It was fun. They were heavy. First time I've ever taken them off on the new Jeep. And how to use some WD-40. Yeah, how to really get in there.
You couldn't have paid me to do something like that yesterday. It's
Yeah,
too
that
muggy.
30-minute drive in the wind that I can get.
They're still off.
I roll my window down.
Hey,
Those are
I get a
times.
nice left
Better hope
leg
there's not
tan.
a storm. What a storm
It
rolls
actually
through here.
rained Saturday morning and dry as a bone. You know why? You don't take the top off. That's the key. Everyone thinks take the top off. That's the fun. No, birds will poop in your car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out on that. It rains, you're screwed. Doors off. It's fun. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I don't know why everyone complains about the heat. I played 18 holes of golf, went to the pool, I mowed the lawn, played some pickleball.
A Midwesterner's day.
Yeah, the people in England right now are complaining like it's a heat wave. Looked it up to the translation. What was it, Dylan? 23 degrees Celsius. It was 78 degrees Fahrenheit.
I think so. Let me look again. I think it was in the 20s. I know that.
It's balmy.
For Celsius.
That's spring. Oh my gosh, heat wave 78. I didn't know the British. Like, that's soft.
We are accustomed to different type of weather down here.
Yeah. Like it's 93 and I'm like, oh, cool. It's not 100. Not triple digits.
Could also be a situation where this news outlet really
I don't know,
buried
man.
the English people, unfortunately, without their,
I just know British people have been on the X. It's the same thing, like the whole cricket versus baseball debate. America won again. This whole weather debate. America won again. The U.S. Open. America won again. That's all I'm saying. Whatever your thoughts are on Bryson DeChambeau and the Live Tour, all that stuff, you can't say he's not entertaining. I get it. He can be a little much. He can come off a certain way. His 3D printed clubs and the bordering on the illegal putter, the brand logos, all that stuff. Whatever your thoughts are on Bryson, dude is entertaining and good for the game of golf. The USA chance raining out.
for a live golfer, which
was kind of hilarious, as Rory
yeah.
McIlroy was the whole, I'm not going anywhere. He lives in America and all that stuff. I get it. Bryson DeChambeau, under pressure, making and hitting one of the best golf shots you will ever see in a major, that 55-yarder out of the sand. If you're a golfer, you know the difficulty of that shot. The fact is, on 18, hit one of the worst drives, and for all the people talking about how lucky he has been all week long, and he had been, he hit some brutal shots and got away with it, especially in the wiregrass. Didn't get lucky there. They all came back. You had a root in your way. You had the clump of wiregrass. You had the tree in your backswing. You were able to get it and shoot it into the bunker, and then get up and down from there to win the U.S. Open. Stones. Rory McIlroy, twice in the last 4 holes, last 5, missing 2 putts within 4 feet. Rory's so easy to root for. I love Rory. As a fellow short guy, I'm 5'10". I love watching him generate that much power with his swing. I like rooting for Rory. I really do. But he makes it so damn hard when you choke away the U.S. Open like that, and then you immediately bail. And I get it. You're pissed off. Once you see that putt go in, I'm not saying he's mad at Bryson. I'm not saying he's mad at all the fans who are chanting USA. You're pissed at yourself. You choked that away. But to bail just like that, I get you don't want to stick around in an interview and all those questions. I understand. It would have been nice to see him, though, get a little handshake, a little nod, a little something. It comes off as sore loser.
I would say yes, because I feel like golf is a sport all about showmanship, sportsmanship, gamesmanship, whatever you want to call it. And, yeah, I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing. I mean, if I blew a lead like that, missed a couple of 3-foot putts. And
the liquor cabinet's not safe.
No. And DeChambeau was able to hit a shot like that, as you said, one of the best shots we had seen, certainly in recent memory. It's also good for golf, though. I feel like we had this conversation right during the Masters week, I think it was, about personalities and guys you can relate with, guys you can root for, root against. You just brought up that Bryson DeChambeau was maybe not everybody's favorite. It was kind of a little bit of a villain for some time. But then I saw yesterday all over social media, I didn't like him, but now he kind of won me over. And that's what golf needs. Golf needs those big personalities, those guys that are polarizing. And I feel like yesterday we had a little bit of a taste of that. I mean, we all know the names Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau, but to see the emotion of it, to see a collapse like that, and somebody take advantage of that collapse, it makes it all the better for the sport.
Yeah, I thought 1,000% we were heading into a playoff, or Rory was going to win after I saw Bryson's drive. I mean, that thing was so far. And by the way, I'm really glad that the ruling did not give him relief. I didn't think they would. Trying to say the grandstand was going to be in his way, and I love the announcer. He goes, well, they probably said, I have not seen you hit a fade in 3 years. Or a cut, because he draws the ball. It was not going to be in his way. And I'm glad that they made him play it as is. I mean, Rory got screwed a couple times. Whatever your thoughts are on Pinehurst, number 2, they had to play the exact same course. Yeah, Rory threw one close that looked like it should have been a 4-footer, rolled all the way off the green into the bunker. Brutal break. I mean, horrendous break. Everyone had to play the same course. Everyone had to play the same thing. It was eating people alive. Did he not get one back when he blasted one into the grandstands and had to he got free relief from that? It's golf. It's golf. Everyone's playing the same course. Is it dried out? Is it hard? Were there some shots where even, again, Rory hit another one on the par 3? You think it's going to be solid? Rolls all the way back off the back? Everyone had to play the same course. Bryson hit an 8-iron, and that's where he gets away with it. Yes, everything's lofted down, but it still reacts like an 8-iron to him, right? Yes, they're lofted down. It's basically the degree of a 6-iron. I get that. But he hits it like an 8. He's able to get a stop on that green. I mean, it's just the advantages and the uniqueness that I think makes it fun to watch him. I'm not a big Bryson guy. I know it might sound like it during this little talking point I'm having right now. Not a huge Bryson guy. But I find myself enjoying watching him play golf. And it's why I think it sucks that the Live Tour and PGA, we don't get this every single week. We don't get to watch this all the time. No one watches the Live Tour. No one does. Sorry if you're the 7 people who are watching right now. You're a part of the 7. We need to find a way to get these guys playing together almost every single tournament because, damn, it's exciting.
Well, it's also a point that, they don't play a lot, but they seem to always capitalize when they do play. It's always engaging. It's always entertaining, and yesterday was certainly that. And for me, I'm not as big of a golf guy as you are. Certainly not as skilled either. I think playing-wise, I don't play that much either. But it's important for the sport, for guys like me, for guys out there that maybe don't care a lot about golf, or their buddies are talking about golf and you know the names, but you don't really know what's going on. It's important for yesterday to happen. It's important to have that, golf doesn't have a quote-unquote photo finish, but kind of close to it. You have somebody that was clearly in the lead. They collapse like that. You have somebody take advantage, but not take advantage with just great play. It's these incredible shots. It's these improbable shots that are finding its way onto the green to, find its way into the hole. And for golf to have that sort of exhilarating rush, it's important because also golf, it's in the same way as baseball, and I'm a big baseball guy, it's very slow. It's very methodical. Yeah. And when you have those moments of, wow, I can't believe what I'm watching or what I just saw, it grows the sport. And it grows the sport to people who may not like golf, semi-like golf, but were engaged in something like what we saw yesterday.
I will say, though, when you try and get a tee time Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I'm team shrink the sport. I'm team stop the game. Stop the game, make it smaller so I can get a tee time. All right, switching gears, going to the NFL now. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins is officially going to be with the Bengals this year as he signed his franchise tender. Supposedly he's going to be at training camp now. Obviously, we'll wait for training camp to start, but T. Higgins supposedly now going to be at training camp. What do you make of this? The $21.8 million franchise tag. T. Higgins, not happy about it, but signed the franchise tag.
It's weird in Cincinnati that, of course, a lot of Chiefs fans listening, they've got that disdain, that anger towards Bengals fans. And what it shows to me, Sterling, and that in the NFL, and it's why I think in Kansas City you have to be so appreciative of the window this has been and to capitalize on a window where you get 3 Super Bowls from it. I remember year 1 that Joe Burrow was healthy, truly healthy. He beats the Chiefs. He has that incredible run in the playoffs. You felt like at that point in time, the window was just beginning. And it was, right? That you've got this 3-headed monster. You've got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon's in the backfield. Like Cincinnati went from rags to riches instantaneously. But then, as good as those players were, you're like, how do you stop Cincinnati's offense? Well, this is kind of in the NFL what happens. You have 3 great wide receivers. Well, you're not going to pay all 3 of them. You pick one of them realistically, and then you have to figure out what to do with the other. And with T. Higgins, I think this is, not the same as the Chris Jones situation, because that was the talk of last offseason. It was like, well, the Chiefs had a great defense, but you were never going to be able to keep some of these guys long term. They were able to keep Chris Jones. Now it's a matter of, what does T. Higgins want long term? Does he want to always be the number 2 there? Or does he want to go get paid the big-time bucks? I think it's more so the latter, but it shows you in the NFL. There's always going to be some trouble in paradise, even with the best teams out there. I mean, people probably thought the same thing with the Chiefs when they had the trade. Tyreek Hill was like, this was the admittance, if you will, of the window's closing. They can't pay everybody. They have to, move on from somebody like Tyreek Hill. And for Cincinnati, like, we're never going to see the 3-headed monster again because now Tyler Boyd no longer there, and T. Higgins, who knows how much longer he's there. It's about how they can sustain this, maybe with just Joe Burrow and the Jamar Chase connection.
Well, then Jamar Chase is also wanting that new deal. Yep. He did report for the mandatory minicamp, but was a limited participant in all 3 days. Not great in Cincinnati. And again, it goes to your point of what the Chiefs have done. Again, this is not me trying to take a shot at Cincinnati. This is not me trying to rip on the Bengals, but also to put in perspective how impressive the Chiefs have been during this run. They've done it so many different ways, and that's what also makes the NFL so great is you can't just draft all these guys and all of a sudden, now, you get to keep them forever. It's not even like baseball where you get them for 7 years, you have arbitration and all that. It's not even like baseball. NFL is based on parity. It's based on if you're not good for a couple years, well, you should have a chance to be good in the next couple. The Chiefs obviously went 50 years between Super Bowls, but they had some windows where they had some good teams, some playoff teams, right? That's what the NFL's built on. It's built on giving almost every single team a chance. Well, the Bengals had some good seasons, and they really fizzled out, and they didn't take advantage of it, and now they're set to try and do it with Joe Burrow not on a rookie contract, Jamar Chase no longer on a rookie contract, T. Higgins being whatever's going to happen. They do have until July 15th to get a long-term extension, but seems fairly unlikely. Trey Hendrickson has wanted a new contract defensively, and the Chiefs have done it in a way where they go, all right, Tyreek, we can't afford to pay you, man. If we pay you, we're going to lose so many other guys. They had a certain number, and they go, we can't go over that number. So they didn't. And then they won back-to-back Super Bowls, right? Defensively, they like Travarius Ward. They couldn't afford to keep Travarius Ward. They like L'Jarius Sneed. They weren't able to keep L'Jarius Sneed. You'll try and do it for your cornerstone pieces, your Mahomes, your Chris Jones, and your Travis Kelce, right? But that's what makes the NFL, again, so great, and again, what makes the Chiefs' ability to have the sustainability so great. They draft, they develop, and they're constantly looking forward. It was the reason why I was so mad. Again, I'm not trying to bring up old things because the Chiefs have done great things, and I actually like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a good amount, right? Sunk cost, it's all sunk cost at this point. But it's why I hated at the time a luxury pick, or you can draft a running back here. You can give Mahomes his guy. Well, no, because you're always looking ahead. The Chiefs have always looked ahead in the secondary. They've always looked ahead in the linebacker room. They've looked ahead on the offensive line. It's why you're always looking ahead, and it's why the Chiefs are in the situation they are in, while the Bengals, the Bills, and the like, well, they're not.
It allowed the Chiefs, too, right after they won their first Super Bowl, to be a little bit more aggressive and could take gambles like trading Tyreek Hill because they had already gotten that monkey off their back, whereas teams like Cincinnati, teams like Buffalo, the teams chasing Kansas City, Baltimore for that matter, they don't have that luxury, right? They have to continue to try to assemble the best possible team to beat the Chiefs. The problem is, and the hard part about this, the Chiefs in the last 3 years have morphed into a different version of themselves, which makes them damn near impossible to beat in the playoffs because in the beginning, it was all about the offense. You have to find a way to keep up with Kansas City's offense, but you could because the defense sucked. It was the worst defense in the league. The next year, the reason the Chiefs won that Super Bowl, the defense got a little bit better. They were almost half and half, if you will. Then the next year they won it against Philadelphia. That offense came back a little bit. Defense took a backseat, but the offense really had the high-powered attack. This past year was maybe the most violent switch we've seen. The defense was the star of the show. They were the best defense remaining in the playoffs. They're the reason why the Chiefs were able to win in Baltimore. I don't think the 2018-2019 Chiefs win that game because the defense wasn't that good. So you look at Cincinnati, their identity is the offense. They've got great players on defense, but they've always been known for their three-headed monster, Burrow, Mixon. Mixon's now in Houston. Tyler Boyd's gone. Jamar Chase no longer on the rookie deal. T. Higgins, who knows if they're going to keep him or not. They may trade him because they're not going to have a long-term deal.
Sure.
Now it's this problem and this difficulty of they're going to have to change who they are because they can't be the three-headed monster anymore. They don't have all those players anymore. So the Bengals, while Kansas City has reloaded, even Buffalo, they had to trade Stephon Diggs. They had to alter who they were. Now Houston becomes a lot stronger in the AFC, and that is the difficulty of the NFL and why we really, at least in my lifetime, probably in your lifetime as well, I've seen only one team do it, and it was New England.
Was that him making me seem old, Dylan? Was that him, like, I'm like a year older than Jack, and he's like, and maybe in your lifetime too, old man. I don't know. How old are you, Jack?
I am 25.
Okay, no, I am a good amount older than Jack. Never mind. You made me seem old there. I was going
to say the Cowboy. I was only going to say the Cowboys, but they didn't really change their identity. Like the Patriots changed a little bit from time to time who they were, which is why we saw them win 6 Super Bowls. Kansas City has been the only team close to that, right? Seattle, when we kind of talked at the time a little bit of a dynasty forming, they were known for the Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
They did have Russell Wilson. They did have Marshawn Lynch, but we always knew Seattle of, The stadium, how loud it got there, and the Legion of Boom. It was impossible to win there. But they won one Super Bowl out of it. The teams that can adjust, be different versions of themselves, those are the tough ones to beat. And all these teams chasing Kansas City, until we see them win a Super Bowl in a different version of themselves, they're always going to be that second and third place team to Kansas City.
I wonder if it would actually behoove the Bengals to trade T. Higgins. I wonder if it makes the most sense long-term for them to say, you know what? We're still going to be a pretty good team without him this year. But we need to try and bolster the defense a good amount. I wonder if it makes the most sense to say, let's see what we can get back for him. And maybe it's not a lot because he's looking for a new deal, so maybe you're only getting back, what would you get back, a second?
Probably
a second, because you're going to have to turn around and pay him a lot of money. 4-year, 100 mil, something along there. So maybe you're not getting back a ton. I wonder, and Dylan, I'd love to get your thoughts because you're the NFL historian here on this. Do you think it would make the most sense for the Bengals if they're trying to compete long term and keep their window open longer? Because the Chiefs, whether the Bengals have T. Higgins or not this year, the Chiefs are still the favorites, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe even Houston and maybe even Baltimore. I think it's fair to say the Bengals are fourth. With or without T. Higgins, are probably fourth. Would it make the most sense for them? Yes, they franchise tag T to trade him.
Man. I mean, I think that they've already tried, probably.
Sure.
And they didn't get what they wanted, which is why he signed the tender so late. Because usually when they sign it immediately, or they sign it and then don't report, or there's just some wonkiness still after the fact, then that's when you see a sign and trade on the tag. But when it drew out longer, they were either on the phone trying to get a deal for T while negotiating with him, and neither got to where they wanted to be, whether the trade or the negotiation, so the tag was signed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
So I don't think they can trade him, is what I'm saying. Like,
Sure.
They didn't get what they wanted back that they thought was fair to sacrifice probably their best shot in this iteration of the Bengals at a Super Bowl that's left, because he's gone after this year.
Yeah.
So I think that they weighed the pros and cons of, hey, do we trade him and we get a fifth or a fourth back, or do we keep him and have a really good shot at winning a Super Bowl one last time with this team?
What I think is
Can
interesting.
you tag him again, too? Can't you use
the
two?
double tag, but then it raises, it's like 120%.
So if you really wanted to go
the-
back-to-back, if you did win and everything worked out this year, you could still tag him again.
Yeah, but that's
You're
a
not gonna.
that's a
You're
rare
not gonna.
tag.
You're going to tag him and trade
Yeah.
him then.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. They already went through all this. They already tried to trade him. It's over. They're going to just play on the tag.
Again, I like doing these exercises to kind of show where the Chiefs sit in relation to how dominant they've been and how they've also built this team for the future. I'm not going to say Brett Veach has done everything right, because that's a lie, but no GM does everything right. We always crown, I don't say we, the national media always crowns Harry Roseman as this genius, right? How often is that? Oh my gosh, can't believe Harry Roseman got away with that.
Bill Belichick won 6 Super Bowls, and we still make fun of him because he can't draft a receiver.
Yes.
So, you can do everything for a franchise, and they'll make a documentary about you saying that you were the worst coach ever, and it was all the owner and the quarterback. and it
Well,
doesn't
because
matter. So,
maybe allegedly the owner wanted to push something out.
he did. So, but that's what I'm saying is, no matter how successful you can be, there'll always be detractors.
Oh, always. Tom Brady, he won 7 rings, and the detractors are saying, well, he just checked the ball down. It's always going to be haters. Always. Jack, there's haters for us right now.
Yep, I agree.
On this greatness that is this show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I think the interesting part about the T. Higgins situation here is that the Bengals, and I probably do know the answer to this question, they have to ask themselves one very simple question. With T. Higgins this year, do they feel like they can beat the Chiefs? And they've also got a track record of beating the Chiefs. They also had Tyler Boyd, and they had Joe Mixon in that deal. And
by the way, a healthy Joe Burrow.
And a healthy Joe Burrow. And I think last year they saw as their gap year. Burrow got hurt. They're not going to punt again and say, well, we can't beat him this year. Let's try to keep this window open. We saw with Buffalo. They trade Stephon Diggs because they likely feel like with that roster, they can't beat Kansas City. And the goal is trying to keep that window open as long as possible until Kansas City slips up. Cincinnati, though, I think will keep them, as Dylan said, because they likely feel like last year, that was the lost year. This year, we got to go all in again. Houston's going all in. Baltimore's going all in. Because they all feel like they've got good enough rosters to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's where, if Cincinnati did trade T. Higgins, I think they would be answering that question of, we don't think with this roster we can beat the Chiefs. We want to make sure that we can compete and beat the Chiefs for 5 more years. Whereas, the gamble is they go this year and get nothing for T. Higgins, and then what if they can't pay Jamar Chase, right? I think they will be able to, but if they can't, then all of a sudden that window is closed immediately. Like Buffalo, they had to look internally and say, even with Stephon Diggs, it's not a good enough roster to beat Kansas City. We've tried 3 times, and we are 0 for 3 in those chances. So they looked at the AFC playoff picture and said, we can still be really good and maybe catch fire. Maybe Kansas City gets bounced in the wild card game or the divisional round and we get our opportunity there. But Cincinnati, I think they're going to be far more aggressive. I think they're looking at this team saying, we're going to avenge last year. Joe Burrow got hurt. He was never healthy. He got hurt in training camp, remember? He had the calf injury. That kind of lingered, and then he had the hand injury or whatever it was, or the finger injury. I think this Bengals team looks at Kansas City, says, we can beat them with this roster, but we have to have T. Higgins to do it. And there probably wasn't a good enough offer, as Dylan said, because the wide receiver market, we thought we were underwhelmed with the Tyreek Hill return. It was like we thought, at least the initial reports, like, wow, Tyreek Hill's getting traded. Expect a first rounder and maybe Jalen Waddle coming back. And it was just a abundance of picks.
It's never as much as you think when a guy, especially when a guy is looking for a new contract.
Yes.
It's twofold. It's one, it's almost never as much as you think unless it's a dumb team and a team gives you 2 firsts for Jamal Adams, or if a guy's looking for a new contract, it's just not going to be that much because you have to turn around. It's debit and credit at that point. We'll take a break. I want to come back, though, and I want to talk about the 1 seed importance and if it's the most important this year for the Chiefs based on the outlook of the AFC currently. We'll take a break, come back. The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels, no Jason Anderson today. He was questionable, downgraded to out. Hopefully he feels better. This next segment, we're just going to talk about how Taylor Swift is the Bob Dylan of this generation. You guys ready?
All right.
No?
Sure.
Oh, okay. No, we're talking about the AFC and the importance of the 1 seed in this year, particularly because, as we mentioned, the Ravens pretty much going all in. The Bengals seemingly trying to keep the band together for one more ride. And then obviously the Texans, they are going all in. That's 4 teams, the Chiefs included, that you're sitting here going, these are legit Super Bowl contenders. At least they think they are, right? The Bills, I don't know if you want to face Josh Allen in the playoffs. Again, Chiefs have had their number in the playoffs. Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback. They don't have Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. But he's one of the few, I think, elite quarterbacks in football. I have him as the second best quarterback in football. I don't know if you're going to face Josh Allen in the playoffs, right? That's 5 teams. The Dolphins, they're at home.
They're at home. Yeah.
If it's cold, I think they're going to crumble yet again. They're not built for that.
If it's below 50 degrees,
if it's
you're
below
probably
50,
fine.
below 60, it's too cold for them, right? It's the British right now with that heat wave of 78. They're saying that Miami said that's too cold for them.
Yep.
They can't play in that. They need hoodies. Hell, Josh McDaniels is going to have to cover those ankles up. So you got 6 teams at least. The Jets, who knows? I mean, you're looking around the AFC right now, and there's a lot of good teams. A lot of teams who are really trying to make a push this particular year. So I ask you, is the 1 seed more important this year than in some of the previous years the Chiefs have been in? Because like when the Titans got the 1 seed, for example, I don't think anyone was sitting here going, you have to have the 1 seed. The Titans, they're so legit. How can you let them get the 1 seed? Mm-hmm. No, I don't think anyone was really saying. Last year, even to an extent, right?
At that time, though, sorry to cut you off. At that time, it was more so the Patriots because we didn't know that the downfall was happening in 19. I felt like
Sure.
it was such a big deal to get the 1 seed over New England because you didn't want to go to New England.
Fair.
And 18 as well, I guess.
Fair. And maybe now you say, well, the Chiefs have proven they can win on the road even against a team like Baltimore, so maybe it's not as important. But I wanted to pose the question, again, with I think at least 4 teams being almost all in. All in. Does the 1 seed become more important for the Chiefs this year?
I think it used to matter almost every single year before the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I think for Baltimore, I think for Cincinnati, that is like, it has to happen. The Chiefs, that's the goal, right, to get the 1 seed. I don't know, though. Last year, to me, with what was stacked up against that team, and I get that it's a little bit different now. No longer have L'Jarius Sneed. That's a huge part of your defense. But we've seen the way the Chiefs have been able to adapt to losing star players. And for me, I looked at last year going to Buffalo, going to Baltimore, where both of those teams, it was like their team of destiny. Like Buffalo finally gets Kansas City in Orchard Park. They're going to beat them this time. It's a down year for the Chiefs. The Chiefs win. Baltimore, you know, they're the best defense, or at least there was talk of that. They're a better defense than Kansas City. Lamar's had a better year. It's at M&T Bank Stadium. It's impossible to win there. It was just their team of destiny. And the Chiefs win a defensive, I'm going to call it the defensive shootout, but a defensive rock fight, we'll call it. And then it's like San Francisco getting back. I know it's not a road game, but it was like all these teams stacked up against Kansas City. It's like their team of destiny. But yet, when you have a quarterback that's a generational talent, like Patrick Mahomes, like Tom Brady was, it didn't matter what the seeding was. Like, honestly, if the Chiefs are the 3 seed this year and they have to go on the road to Cincinnati, on the road to Buffalo, on the road to Baltimore, on the road to one of those teams, I don't think it matters. I almost now, when I look at a home game for the Chiefs, though I'd love for the game to be at Arrowhead, it like makes me anxious. I'm like, if they lose a playoff game at Arrowhead, it's like I can't believe they'd lose there. But like last year, the feeling of watching them on the road, it was far more exciting and energetic. Like, we can ruin their year in front of their fans. And that's why I look at this year. Yeah, there are scary teams in the AFC, but I think it's been that way for 5-6 years now. There's always that team that emerges as, oh boy, you don't want to run into them. And to finally see Mahomes go on the road and win with the roster he had last year, it was a good roster. Wide receiver room we know it wasn't quite there. They had a second-round rookie who was their best wide receiver in the playoffs. And to do it against those teams, I'll sit here and say for next year, I don't really care what seed. I don't think it's a make or break for me like it used to be. When New England and Tom Brady were still a thing, it was like they got to get the 1 seed, as Dylan said, because I didn't want to go to Foxborough. I didn't want to go play them in the playoffs where everybody always lost there. Now it's like, give me them in Miami, give them to me in Buffalo, in Cincinnati, Arrowhead, or a different continent. I really don't care, because when you have a quarterback like that, he's proven he can win anywhere. And I think it's going to be the exact same thing this year. If it's at Arrowhead, if it's on the road, it's on a neutral site, don't think it matters. I think he would be the guy you bet on in a game like that.
Different continent, I would say. I would like to see the Chiefs take on the Dolphins in like Greenland or Iceland. I think I like the Chiefs' chances there.
And then also don't be kind of swayed by the fact, even though we hosted a lot of AFC championships, we were still the 2 seed in those years. Like there was a lot of 1 seeds that slipped up. And, the Ravens did. I think the Titans did when the Bengals came here and we lost. Like, it always doesn't have to be the 1 seed. It can be the 2 seed, because the 1 seed has a ton of pressure that we're used to, but they might not be. Like, this might be the biggest year the Texans have ever had.
Sure.
They're a 1 seed for the first time in franchise history, and C.J. Stroud goes out there with a week's rest and comes out flat.
I would say if Houston, in this scenario, if Houston went 15-2, and got the 1 seed.
It's bold.
Well,
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying, like,
let me look at their schedule, by the way. Keep going.
In this hypothetical, like an absurd record, I don't think Houston's going to go 15-2, but let's say for that matter, 15-2, incredible regular season, they're the 1 seed, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs go 10-7, and they have to go to Houston in the divisional round. You know who I would bet on probably? The guy who's won on the road in the playoffs.
Same.
The guy that has 3 Super Bowls. And that's where I'm at now. It's the same way Patriots fans felt about Tom Brady. He didn't win every single road game, but it was like once you have 2 or 3 Super Bowls, it was like it didn't matter whether they were a 1 or a 4 seed. And they weren't a 4 seed many times. They were almost always a 1 or a 2 seed. But it just didn't matter. It was those other teams that it was the pressure of, we can't go to Arrowhead. We have to have our game at our place. Now, Cincinnati, different story. They have actually visually seen their team knock out Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, especially at Arrowhead. They're the only team that can actually have that argument. Buffalo, they're not looking at this and saying, well, we get in, like, we'll take them at Arrowhead or Orchard Park. You can't. You're 0-3. Baltimore, they will probably still say this year, we got to get the 1 seed back because we can't go to Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes, because he came into our house last year and that defense beat us on the doorstep of making it to the Super Bowl.
I agree with you guys. I think the 1 seed's more important for other teams, but I do think it's a fun question just based on, in my opinion, I think the top end of the AFC this year, but you can make the case that the Bills and the Bengals have been there for years in the past. I think the Texans make this a lot more interesting, though. I do think the Texans and what they've done, I was high on them last year. Everyone called me silly. Sorry. I admit when I get things wrong, because I get things wrong a lot. I got the Texans right last year, and I really do think it's a snowball. I don't think they're going 15-2. But I did pull up the Texans' schedule, and it's at the Colts, versus the Bears, at the Vikings, Jags, Bills, at Pats, easy, at Packers, Colts, at Jets, Lions, at Cowboys, Titans, at Jags, and then the 3 tough game stretch, Dolphins, at KC, and then back home against the Ravens. Then you finish with the Titans. Not as hard. I mean, yeah, it's the
first half. I think is easy. There's like a 6-game
there's a stretch there because the Titans are bad this year. I think that's news. That's not news. At the Jags, I think the Jags are bad. That's not news. The Dolphins at Chiefs Ravens. That 3-game stretch in 10 days. The same thing that the Chiefs have. When everyone's complaining about the Chiefs 10-game stretch or 11, however you want to break it down, 10 or 11, whatever that stretch is, the Ravens have it. The Chiefs have it. The Texans have it, and the Steelers have it, right? Those 4.
Yep.
The Chiefs have it a little easier than the Texans because the Texans have to go Dolphins, at Kansas City, and then the Ravens. And that game against the Ravens, that might have a ton of playoff implications. The Chiefs have the Steelers.
I feel like with Houston, they are very similar to where Detroit was last year. And I asked this same question before last season, before week 1. It was and I think, Dylan, it was during the night show. It was like, can Detroit for a year where there's so much expectation, a franchise that has been so down and out of it for 3 decades, can they live up to the hype? I'm asking the same question for Houston. I think they've got the roster. I think they have the talent. I think they have the coach and the schedule to match it.
Sure.
But you go back to the point of, can you live up to somebody calling you the sleeper of the AFC? Oh, a team that could get to the Super Bowl. And Detroit, they were able to do that and should have if it wasn't for a collapse in the Bay Area in the NFC Championship game. This Houston team, though, they won a playoff game last year. They went into Baltimore and, at least for the first half, made it interesting, then got clubbed in the second half. But now it's that matter of, you got the wide receiver, you got the running back, you got the quarterback. They have one of the more loaded wide receiver rooms, actually, and not just the AFC, all of the NFL. But now it's that added pressure of, you are going to be a elite team in this conference. You are going to be, at bare minimum, a 10 to 12 win team. Can you live up to that? And can you face the adversities you just brought up, that tough stretch, an injury or two happening? What does it look like then? We've seen some of these other teams, Kansas City probably most specifically, deal with adversity better than others. They have the luxury of, they start 2-4. Yeah, we'll be probably ranting on the airwaves, but we know that they are able to bounce back. Can somebody like Houston, slow start, 2-4, can they bounce back from that and then all of a sudden, win 10 of their next 11 games? That remains to be seen.
Before we take a break, no, I'll do it on the other end. I know we need to take a break.
I was
sorry.
going to tag
Dylan.
that with, Jack made a great point. They're not sneaking up on anybody this year. Like, everyone knows the Texans are a formidable foe. It's not really a surprise for the teams, and they also have a year of C.J. Stroud tape to dissect. So,
well, that was when we come back, we can quickly gloss over and talk about what the second-year Stroud is. Are we crowning him as an elite quarterback too soon? We'll take a break. The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Really good when he first year starting, took a step back. I guess you can make the same case for Jordan Love as well. Right? We'll see what he does year 2 as a starter. Are we crowning Stroud too soon?
I don't think so, because he accomplished what I think many people didn't think would be possible in year 1, taking him to the playoffs and win a playoff game. And by the way, bludgeon an opponent in a playoff game. He bludgeoned Joe Flacco and the Browns, but then, ran into a really good team in their own house. I'm excited for year 2. I kind of hope a C.J. Stroud-Mahomes rivalry starts up soon.
Yeah. I don't think it's too soon, but also part of me wants to pump the brakes just a little bit, just a skosh. Jack, make it safe down to Wichita. Up next, Josh Kaiser of One Royal Way on KCSN. Up next. of One Royal Way podcast right there on KCSN. Kaiser, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Sterling, how are you, brother?
I'm good, man. It's a beautiful day. It's a great day to have a great day, okay? For all the people that think it's too hot outside, no. Just tarps off. I'll go tarps off in studio if I have to. Dylan won't like it. Dylan's not going to like it. But I'll get a nice bronze. No, I love this weather. It's baseball weather, and that's what we're talking about. I do want to point out, before we go any further, some semi-breaking news. Not breaking, but within the last half hour. Michael Wacha to begin a rehab assignment tonight, and surprise. And then Michael Massey beginning a rehab assignment tomorrow night with Omaha. Let's start there. Start with Michael Wacha first. Any time frame? Expected time frame on Wacha as he's going to Surprise?
I think they mentioned that they wanted at least a few different starts, a few different outings there for Wacha to make sure everything's all good. It sounded like this was on the shorter end of the time frame from Jump Street, so that's pretty big news in and of itself. But I think it'll be another week, maybe two, before we see Wacha in Kansas City. But I've been wrong about these things before. I think they're taking it just one outing at a time to see how it feels and go from there. But that's the gauntlet they've run over the last few weeks. It's been the starting pitching has taken their step back, and I think Michael Wacha's presence being out of that rotation has been heavily seen and exploited. So couldn't be soon enough for Michael Wacha.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to not see Daniel Lynch pitch for the Royals. That's going to be it'll be thrilling, exhilarating, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the Altavilla opener situation, which I thought would have, I came on last week hoping it'd be somebody like Will Klein. Altavilla is pretty similar to Will Klein, and that did not go well. So, just get Wacha back in there and let's roll.
Yeah. And then Michael Massey beginning a rehab assignment tomorrow night with Omaha. Obviously, Omaha, good news, AAA starting there. How many games would you expect from Michael Massey, especially coming back from that somewhat reoccurring back injury?
Yeah, I think with him starting in Omaha, I think that's a good sign instead of starting down in Double-A. So I think he's on the closer end than the farther out end. But again, I think that's another situation where it's a pain tolerance thing. Could see him within a week maybe, or could take him a couple of weeks just to give him time to truly get back to form and make sure this isn't a lingering issue.
How important is it, though, to get someone back like Michael Massey? Obviously, Adam Frazier, okay. Garrett Hampson's been decent offensively, right? I think the OPS in 722 you're going to take. It's the defense, especially at second base, that's been a little bit lackluster, to put it mildly. And then Nick Lofton, again, another guy who's been fine, pretty much a singles-only type of guy. I don't think Nick Lofton plays very good defense at second base. I don't know your opinion on Lofton at second. I just don't think he's definitely not Michael Massey at second base. In your mind, how important is it for Massey, not just defensively, obviously, at second, but also to extend the lineup, because he was hitting for a good amount of power when he was inserted into the fifth spot?
Yeah, Massey's that representation of the upside, I think, to lengthen that lineup, especially in the power department. I'm a big, thick Nick Lofton guy. We call him thick on the show. I don't know if that's known to the listeners, but
no. Why is he Thick Lofton? Is he that thick?
He had that storyline last year coming into spring training where he put on the 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, and it was, we kind of jumped out to us before it came out as a story that he looks a lot bigger than he was. So we just started dubbing him as Thick Lofton as he did get a little thicker in that offseason.
I love that.
But I am a big Nick Lofton guy. I do agree. I don't know if his defense is as stout as it is at second base as Michael Massey's is. I think he's a good utility guy, and I do like him on the roster, period. But I do think he's kind of the casualty of Michael Massey coming back. But he's put together some great at-bats. He's taken us a couple, some big walks to start some rallies. He hit the sac fly walk-off. That was huge the other day, or I guess last weekend. So he's done fine. I want to see more from him, but yeah, Michael Massey coming back could be huge to this lineup and what it could be doing, the upside of things.
Josh Kaiser is our guest. I want to get into the overarching theme here, which is the Royals went 2-5 against maybe the best two teams in baseball, the Yankees and the Dodgers. It wasn't pretty those first three games against the Yankees. It was a debacle. Then they blew it in that fourth one before they came back, walked it off with Maikel Garcia, who was in a crazy slump but found a way to get it done. And then obviously against the Dodgers, MJ Melendez in Game 2 hit that grand slam, and it was pretty much over from there. What did you take away from that 2-5 two series against potentially the two best teams in baseball?
I would have liked to have gotten another game in that Yankees series. I don't love the 3-1 loss series in that situation, but losing 1 of 3 or losing 2 of 3 to the Dodgers in LA when you see Glass now and you see Yamamoto, that's kind of how I expected things to go on that front. I would have liked to have gotten another game in against New York. I hate the Yankees, so it would have been nice. But just the measuring stick aspect of all this is we know that they, on paper, are not as good as those two teams. But they can still steal games. And if you see them in the postseason, this team has shown that they are resilient. They answer the bell. They respond accordingly, and they're never out of a game, which is when you're in the postseason, a lot of weird things can happen, even in 3, 5, 7-game series. So I still think that they could run with those big boys. I think they can still steal games in the postseason. Ain't no team out there want to see the Royals in October.
No. What did you make of Q getting tossed? Because I, for one, loved it. It felt like Coles the previous couple games going against the Royals, felt like he was close, but all of a sudden he popped off, and I loved it. I love his post-game comments. I loved he was not saying, it looked like he basically was saying, no, that's a rule. It's a rule, Smokey, over the line. Mm-hmm. And I just loved that Q showed that fire, that emotion. Obviously, it didn't work right away as the bullpen proceeded to get shelled, but they did come back. What did you make of the entirety of Q and showing his little red ass over the past, week or so?
But it was timely. It was appropriate. It was everything that you would want from the manager. I think, especially this last week or two during this tough run, there has been some gnarly strike zones. There's been some really tough calls against the Royals that did not go in their favor, especially in that Yankees series. There was one game where there was like 4 of them, like back to back to back in those extra inning game, in the extra inning game, especially, where you could absolutely see the case for Quatraro to go out there and get tossed. So to actually see him do it and still be able to keep that mild mannered nature in a situation that was so obviously wrong. He had missed so many balks the day before, and then you come out, you miss a balk, and then you miss the obstruction call. It was huge. I mean, you could not be better timed than Quatraro did that day, and the team definitely fed off of it. And I think there is something to that being huge in the clubhouse. So it's good to see that. It was a culmination of a lot of frustration I think a lot of the fans had as well. So it was nice to see.
What do you make of MJ Melendez at this point? Because it feels like every once in a while he runs into one and we sit here and go, oh my gosh, is he back? Is MJ Melendez back? He makes a great diving catch, and overall the numbers defensively have been pretty much league average, which for him is a massive step forward. He hits the grand slam against the Dodgers. The Royals win that game. He hits the 2-out, 2-run home run against the Mariners. They lose that game, but obviously that was massive for him. What do you make of MJ Melendez at this point? Because I have no idea. The underlying numbers for MJ scream a slightly above average hitter. The real numbers for MJ Melendez say he's one of the worst hitters in baseball. It's such a polarizing guy.
Yeah, and I'll go to bat for anybody with good expected stats any day of the week, and that's kind of what MJ is, especially if he's doing good enough in the field, which is also what he's doing. If he's not an absolute liability both at the plate and in the field, I'll go to bat for him if the expected stats allow for it. But as far as where I put him, he's got to be in there with Nelson Velasquez, Maikel Garcia, Garrett Hampson, Hunter Renfroe, guys that are going to be liabilities at the plate at some point, and they're probably going to be 2-week stretches, but they're also going to carry the offense for at least a week at some point in the or at some point in the season. And that is valuable, but it is also very frustrating to ride that roller coaster. So it seems like outside of Bobby, maybe Salvi, but he's kind of going through a little bit of it right now. they have a whole lineup full of guys that can either carry the weight or absolutely be the anchor, which is an interesting composition of a roster.
Yeah. Josh Kaiser is our guest right here, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Drew Waters only played in 3 games, 8 at-bats, right? 2 games started, 1 as a pinch hitter. Are you surprised at the lack of action for Drew Waters? Because I am. I mean, it feels like they're playing Dairon Blanco at this point more than Drew Waters. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised. Maybe this is them saying he's only on the roster because we have to. We would have liked to have kept him down in Omaha, but Hunter Renfroe somewhat forced our hands. I guess I assumed that Waters was going to be almost a 1-for-1 replacement for Renfroe, and that seemingly has not been the case.
He was going through a tough time there in Omaha prior to getting the call-up, too. He did have a couple good rebound games right before the call-up, which was nice to see. But it does make me think that, you know, they were calling him up because he had to. They needed the body. He is an athlete. He is decent in the field. He is a good runner. He has a little bit of pop, but the swing and miss is a big, big problem. And he had the attitude issues here earlier in the season where he got benched because of a managerial decision, and I kind of wonder how much that plays in all this as well. But I think they got a depth chart, and they are sticking to that. They know who they have. They kind of know what they have at the major league level, and they still have some things to prove with those guys. So that's kind of why I think the Waters didn't get a ton of run. But as far as his future plans in a Royals uniform, I'm not 100% sure where we are with that.
Yeah, because to me it feels like they're almost still trying to hide him and say, hey, let's see what we can get for him. Again, I was always a big Drew Waters guy, big Drew Waters supporter. I love the upside. This might just be one where I am wrong, and eventually I will admit that I was wrong. But damn it, Kaiser, it's hard for me to admit when I'm wrong, okay? I don't like it.
It's hard, and to be completely honest with you, at the time when he was going off in Omaha, he was basically doing the same thing in Omaha as he's done in the past. So if he is that guy is like a 92 WRC plus at the major league level, which at the time was better than what you're getting from Hunter Renfroe. So even if he wasn't like the savior of the offense, you got to question whether or not that was still better at the time. But then Hunter Renfroe went nuts. Waters kind of went down, and I'm with you. I love the Waters trade when they got him from Atlanta. I really, really believed in his upside, but it's just the swing and miss is a huge X factor in a prospect's development. If it's not there, it's a big problem.
Before we get to the pitchers, I think Vinnie Pasquantino has been a little interesting storyline this year. I know Jason and I, and we on the show, we did a thing called ZOUs, over-unders. And I think the line was set at over-under 299 batting average for Vinny. Well, he's down at 240. Still taking a good amount of walks, not a lot of strikeouts, right? On base, 324, slugging 421, 7 home runs, which I think you'd like to see that number up. He does have 19 doubles and those 2 triples, which I don't know if anyone expected 2 triples from Vinny. I don't think he's the guy, I think, more shocked than anyone with the 2 triples. He started off playing some really damn good first base defensively. Feels like it's somewhat started to come down to earth. I know that Garrett Hampson play in particular stands out to me. Garrett Hampson could have made it a little easier on him, but felt like he still needed to get that one. What have you made so far of Vinny in 69 games for him played so far?
I mean, even with the shortfalls and the 2 blands here lately, I think I've been perfectly fine and downright pleased with how Vinny's looked at first base. He is nimble, and I have never seen a Sasquatch in real life, but if he is even remotely as nimble as Vinnie Pasquantino is, that is terrifying. I'm not interested in coming across that path, but been really pleased with his defensive first base. I do wish he was a lot more consistent at the plate. The overall numbers are not great, but when he's hot, he's one of the best hitters in baseball, and I think that ceiling is still there, but it just comes in waves. And if he can just kind of straighten it out, get a little more consistent with that bat, you definitely have an all-star on your hands and a true 3-hole hitter in Vinnie Pasquantino. So if that guy ever comes to fruition, that consistency comes with the maybe a little added power and some great plate appearances, you got a real monster on your hands, Vinnie Pasquantino.
What I find interesting is, again, the underlying numbers for Vinny are really good. But again, those are hypothetical numbers, not the real numbers, right? I got in this argument a long time ago with White Sox. I think it was White Sox fan when Yasmani Grandal was with the White Sox. It may have been when he was with the Brewers. I can't remember now. And they were talking about, like, well, look at the expected numbers versus Salvador Perez's actual numbers. And I go, that's great. But you play the game on the field, not on paper. So at some point, when we're talking about MJ and we're talking about Vinny and all these underlying and expected numbers, I'm sitting here going, that's great. And I do think in a 162-game season, that does matter, right? Football, 17-game season, you got to get it right then and there. The underlying numbers don't mean quite as much. Baseball, 162, typically I'm taking the underlying numbers overall because they'll even themselves out. But at some point, if it keeps happening, where is the disconnect? Because it feels like Vinny should be doing a lot more. I'm not upset with Vinny by any means. He's been fine, but I think we expected more in the lines of the 830 OPS, not a 745 OPS.
Yeah, and I think the same scenario just goes for the entire Royals offense in general. Last year, they had, like, according to the expected numbers, they should have had a top 10 offense, but it wasn't necessarily quite up there. This year is the same case, that their expected numbers are still very good in general, and they also have the results to prove it as well. So there are things, and I think the big one there with that situation is the runners in scoring position. Last year they were one of the worst teams of baseball, and at one point, I think it was the first 6 weeks, they were one of the worst teams in the history of baseball as far as runners in scoring position. Now, flip-flop, snip, snap, snip, snap, they're one of the best ones, runners in scoring position. So I think that is a larger sample of what we're kind of leaning with the expected stats. They're not true. The only thing that matters is the runs that's across the plate, and you need a catalyst like actual clutch, the other thing that cannot be measured. Things like that are the other things that matter into those expected stats. So, yes, it doesn't matter, but the math nerds like you and I will realize, like, this sample size will even out at some point. The rubber will meet the road, and this will take off. So I think that's what we're kind of seeing for the Royals this season. And I think we're just going to have to live with the inconsistencies with a lot of these dudes.
Josh Kaiser of KCSN is our guest. You mentioned this on your Twitter account, I think it was yesterday, talking about Singer calling his game. It looked like early on you thought Brady Singer was calling his game, and you look back and you said he wasn't doing that against the Yankees with Salvi behind the plate. What do you make of that? Because it did seem like he was throwing more changeups and a lot more four-seamers as well.
Yeah, it was very interesting, and I kind of bookmarked that. I talked to Jack about it a little bit, talked to some other guys from Royals Twitter, and they hadn't really taken notice of it as well. And then seeing him throw more fastballs and changeups is very interesting. I don't think that is. I think he always talks about it being a feel for the pitch, and whether that's working, early, then he'll go to it a little bit more, versus when it's not working, he's going to go back to the slider sinker primarily all the time. So I think that the usage right now is a little bit of a coincidence because it felt a little bit better yesterday. But if it's not, I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But I was also talking to the guys from Royals Weekly about it too, and they made the comment that they thought that Alec Marsh was doing it the other day as well. So maybe that's a change. I can also see the benefit of both the pitcher and the catcher trying to call pitches and kind of having that conversation that is kind of lost in the pitch comm era a little bit. So I think that there's something to that. Maybe we're going to that a little bit more too, but it was interesting to kind of note and then see the usage kind of change a little bit.
Before we talk trade deadline, I think there was a fun exercise that we did earlier before you came on, and we did top 5 guys in the Royals bullpen trust factor, right, from 5 to 1. I did this exercise because there's not really 5 dudes you trust in the bullpen. Maybe you're different than me. I had about 4 guys, and I'm sitting here going, all right, I trust him to an extent. I don't want to be the closer by any means, but if they're a 7th-inning guy, yeah, I like him there. So if you wanna please me here, Kaiser, let's do top 5 guys in the Royals bullpen on a trust factor.
Trust factor, do you want me to rank these or just 5?
Rank them 5 to 1. 5 to 1. 1's the guy you trust the most. 5's the guy you're like, I trust, well, not the least, because it's not like Carlos Hernandez by any means. At least I hope it's not Carlos Hernandez for you at number 5. But just 5 to 1, 1 being the dude you trust the most.
5, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. And I'm going to say Walter Pennington is my number 5, and he's not even on the 40-man at the moment. So it's like maybe that's a 5B. He is so good in Omaha. I understand they want to have some roster flexibility. I would love to see Walter Pennington play at the MLB level. I think that's coming at some point, but we'll have to start and see. So that's my 5B. Let's say 5B. 5A, Will Smith. I think you had Will Smith at number 5. Is that right?
Yeah, I had Will Smith at 5.
Then I would probably let's go Angel Zerpa.
Yeah, I had him at 4.
I never know what you're going to get from Zerpa. Like you mentioned, there's no whiff factor there, but he's starting to hit like 97, 98 with that sinker, and that is intriguing to me. I am very tantalized by that velo with him. And then I'm probably let's go Chris Stratton at number 3.
Oh.
I think he's got the veteran presence, and I don't know. He comes and goes, and the command comes and goes as well, but I think he's got the experience to be able to handle that a little bit more. And then Johnny Shribes, Johnny Leverage. I think he needs to be put back in the fireman role more so than the setup, and I think he'll excel a little bit more there. And then the White Horse there at number 1, I think.
Chris Stratton was a wild card. I didn't like it. I hate it. I like how he doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. I mean, he is like the king of weak contact this year. It hasn't always translated, obviously, by the 5.22 ERA. That was a little bit of a surprise to me. Where does Chris Stratton fit in long-term? I guess long-term by meaning this year. Because it feels like he was put in very early in almost every single 7th or 8th inning situation, right? It was him, Schreiber, MacArthur. And then all of a sudden, Stratton started getting shelled. When do you see Stratton start to come back, or are they give him like a week off, right? They give him like a week or 2 off and get right. Don't really face the Dodgers. Don't really face the Yankees. Where do you see Stratton and where he fits in for the rest of the year here?
I mean, I think he's still the middle relief role. As long as you shove him down that depth chart, I think he's fine. I mean, you're not going to see those guys in high leverage when it comes down the stretch, I don't think. And I think that, like, your exercise is like just doesn't show a lot of confidence in any of this bullpen, which, by the way, a lot of this dialogue about Brady Singer and wanting to get him out before he gave up another bomb to Ohtani, and all these people are wanting to turn it over to this bullpen that has maybe 2 guys that you trust on a given day. So I'm not hearing that. Brady Singer was fine yesterday. Whatever. Back to the point. I think Stratton, like I said, the veteran presence. He's got Q's faith. He got the benefit of the doubt to be a high leverage guy at the beginning of the year. Those relievers are volatile up and down. You never get any like constant. We're not getting HDH all the time. So I think Stratton is going to be playing a role down the stretch for this team. And if they make a trade to kind of push him down the depth chart, that's even better. So that's where I'm at.
Sam Long. What do you make of Sam Long so far? He actually was number 3 on my list. I switched out. We had the exact same list, just the difference was I had Sam Long at 3. You had Chris Stratton at 3. Sam Long, 10 games, 9 2/3 innings, yet to give up a run. The expected numbers are really solid for Sam Long. He gets a good amount of whiffs, even though there's only 9 strikeouts and 9 2/3. The issue is he walks a good amount of dudes. What have you made from Sam Long so far? And is this, I'm not saying a 0 ERA, but a legitimately good bullpen arm, is it sustainable?
I mean, he's been fine. I've been pleased with what he's done at the major league level, and when he was in Omaha, he was one of the guys I really wanted to see more of. So we're getting a good shot, a good view of what he can do at the major league level at the right time. But it's just still so small. I just don't know how to trust it, and I cannot abide by guys who walk too many guys. So maybe that's the case for Stratton too, but at the same time, it's larger sample size of Stratton to see what he can do on a larger level. But I have been pleased with what I've seen from Sam Long. So he's certainly up there. He's higher than Dan Altavilla, which I don't know what you could take from that. But
come on, he's got to be higher than. Oh man, that hurts. That Kaiser, come on.
Yeah, I got it. I'm just keeping it real. Just keeping it real with you, Sterling. It's how I am. But I mean, I've been fine with Sam Long. I think he's been good. I think he could be a good arm there as long as he's not getting too many right-handed hitters against him. So we'll see. I like him.
All right, a guy that I really want the Royals to trade for, and there's been some talk, some rumblings. Obviously, they're doing their due diligence in scouting Michael Kopech for potential trade. Looks like Yankees, Royals, and Phillies are just a few of the teams that have been doing their due diligence on Michael Kopech. You're probably not a huge fan because of the walk numbers. He walks a ton of dudes, but he also strikes out a lot of guys. 43 in 29 innings. ERA not great this year, but overall, I think Michael Kopech would bring something different to the bullpen and potentially an eighth-inning guy that the Royals, in my opinion, really, really need. I wouldn't say this is the only guy the Royals need, but I think it would be a huge step in bolstering the back end. What do you make of Michael Kopech?
I'd be fine with it. It would be hard not to get a little excited and get your hopes up a little bit more than it's probably deserving. Like you said, the walk rate is not what you want to see. The ERA is not what you want to see. His injury history is not what you want to see. So I don't want him to give up the world for Michael Kopech, but he does, like you said, give you a little bit different look. He gives you the power pitch. He gives you a gnarly four seam that's tough to catch up with. But he still doesn't get a lot of whiffs with what he has. So I think the stuff plus is still in pretty good shape for Michael Kopech, but I just can't abide by the walks again to give up too much. But he would be, like you said, in top two, maybe the best reliever that they would have in that bullpen at that point. So it is hard not to at least do your due diligence and be in on him if it's a possibility. The other part about this is adding this bullpen in general, as we were talking about it in our podcast group chat, like what's your postseason 3 starting pitchers look like at that point? And we all kind of came to the conclusion that is Lugo, Reagans, and probably Waka if he's healthy. If not, then Singer's probably your fourth guy. Well, what does that do with Alec Marsh? That pushes him to the bullpen. He becomes a gnarly weapon there in that bullpen. And maybe the Royals bullpen doesn't need a huge acquisition at the deadline now if you're planning on pushing Marsh to the bullpen. So just something to think about. I think they still do need to acquire somebody, but maybe not Michael Kopech. I could be up for like a Tanner Scott. I'd be up for like Hunter Harvey.
Oh, dog. If you could give me Tanner Scott, I will I don't know what I'd do, but I'd be thrilled. Okay, Kaiser, I'd be thrilled.
Yes, 100%. I'm in. To use that baseball trade values website, grain of salt. It's not perfect, but for what we're working with here, kind of gives you a pretty good package as to what you can dream about. And if we're talking about a half season of Tanner Scott for like Mason Barnett and a couple rookie arms, then I'm signing up for that every day and twice on Sunday.
Do you
bring
think,
me Tanner Scott, put him in the closer role.
Do you think they do that? Because that's my question. I love those trade sites as well, but my question is, Tanner Scott is going to be very, very valuable. One of the most valuable arms outside of, obviously, Mason Miller, who I think doubtful he gets traded unless the A's get blown away. I think Tanner Scott is the guy that most teams will look for. So that means you're probably going to have to overpay, and now you're competing with the Yankees, the Phillies, the Dodgers. You're competing with the best of the best to try and land a guy like Tanner Scott. Can the Royals compete with themselves not having the best farm system?
I think they can, because it's like the reliever trades are not what they used to. You're not getting Gleyber Torres for Roldis Chapman here. You're not getting those high blockbuster trades for relievers, even if they are closers and proven closers like Tanner Scott is. What they can compete with is a lot of guys that could be good shots with good floors, and the ceiling is questionable. You throw in a couple rookie lottery tickets, and you could definitely keep up with a team like the Yankees in that situation, because they're not trying to give up their top 100 prospects for guys like that either. So I think they can. Whether they want to or not is another conversation. But even if their farm system isn't as loaded as these other ones, I think they can still keep up with guys for relievers for sure.
Okay. Josh Kaiser of One Royal Way on KCSN. Make sure you follow him on the X at Josh Kaiser 40. Kaiser, this was fun, man. I didn't get to argue with you as much as I wanted to. I really thought with Jason gone, I was going to get into some tussle, some on-air tussle with you, but I feel like we agreed a lot.
Yeah, that was my goal here, because I'm not great at confrontation. I'm very agreeable in a lot of the situations, but I mean, Chris Stratton is better than Sam Long is, and I am not here to hear anything otherwise.
Oh no, we're posting this, Dylan, we're posting this. We're getting this done. Who's better? Be the tiebreaker. Chris Stratton.
Oh no,
Sam Long. Dylan's just stretching back there. I don't think he's very unconfrontational as well.
Because we've had a bigger.
You've tried to pretend
size.
like you didn't even hear me.
No. Pretend. So I'm trying to think. We've had a bigger sample size of Stratton than Long, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Much larger sample size. In a much better sample size, though.
I am going to go
But
recency bias.
this isn't. Hold on. This isn't a question of better. This is a question of trust. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's a different context.
Go long for Sam. That's what I'm saying, baby. Go long for Sam. I'm not going Stratton for Chris. You ain't putting that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with – I know that trust, and I get it. I do. Man, it's tough. Honestly, it's like picking between your children here. I'll go long. I'll go – because I have to look at Sterling here, Josh, and finish the show with Sterling. Sure. And there's no other bias in that.
I get it.
So I apologize.
I get it.
Guys
it's
are
like
really
taking a shot of mustard versus taking a shot of Tabasco sauce.
There you go.
I would do both, but I'm also just a psycho.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've done it before.
Oh,
It's
no.
bad. I wouldn't
What?
do it. I don't recommend it.
Oh, boy.
I do recommend following you on Twitter, though, at Josh Kaiser 40. How about that? See? That's something we can all agree
just
on.
as questionable, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't agree with that. That's actually the worst one of the situations.
Josh,
But I appreciate it nonetheless.
Appreciate it, man. We'll take a break. Come back. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you again to Josh Kaiser of KCSN for coming on and hanging out. Dylan, let's have some fun before Mick gets here, right? Because we can't have fun with Mick. No, I'm kidding. We're going to have more fun with Mick. I just realized something, by the way. Did I miss cuts again last Friday? You're shaking your head no, but I feel like I forgot it. It was Friday, wasn't it? And we do cuts on Fridays typically, don't we? So my track record with cuts when I host the show are very low, aren't they? I'm like 0 for 2, 1 for 3 maybe. I think I'm actually 0 for 3 on cuts.
It's all right. You go 1 for 4 next time.
That's batting 250. Hey.
Solid.
Yeah, that's solid. That's Mike Elgar. That's Vinnie Pasquantino out there. The Vinnie of cuts. The Vinnie of cuts. That has to count for something, right? Got to count for something. All right. We talked about it a little earlier, but I want to get into more detail with this with you because I think you had an interesting conversation. We were talking about C.J. Stroud. I want to throw Jordan Love into that category. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts' second year as a starter. Are we crowning some of these quarterbacks, even if we're not saying elite, but like top 10 too soon? Like, are we crowning C.J. Stroud? Are we crowning Jordan Love? Because Jalen Hurts, when he took over as a starter, he was really good, right? Great. And then a little step back, right? A little bit of a step back. Not bad, but you saw some extra growing pains, if you will. Mahomes didn't really have that, but he did have that 1 year where he took a little bit of now cover two's happening. You had to figure some stuff out. Now there's tape out on you, right? Now you have tape, and now defenses know how to try and attack you. Are we crowning guys like Stroud and Jordan Love a little too soon?
I don't think those guys were crowning too soon because your eyes can tell you that there's like a lot more than just a favorable offense and offensive coordinator that was helping them. Like they have a good arm strength. They're accurate with the football. They make the right decisions, especially C.J. Stroud's situation as a rookie. That is – I know I said the tape thing, but, no rookie does what he did. So it's kind of odd. That's like the best season a rookie's ever had.
Yeah, I mean, it was comparable with Mahomes' first year starting, which wasn't a rookie. I mean, what C.J. Stroud did as a rookie was...
And his weapons were, and people hate to hear this, but it's a fact. They were not Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They were not, one was a bona fide Hall of Fame tight end, the other was on his way to becoming a Hall of Fame receiver. That is, you had Nico Collins and a rookie Tank Dell and John Mechie. Who was the tight end again? The kid from Dallas.
Dalton Schultz.
There you go.
I like Dalton Schultz a lot.
I do too. I think he's solid, but he's not even in the stratosphere of Travis Kelce. So I think kind of looking at all of that, I think that Stroud will probably take a step forward just naturally as a rookie having that season.
Sure.
I think that offsets the tape on a guy in his second year thing. And Jordan Love's had 3 years.
Yeah.
So I think that those guys are not crowned early. But I will give you that Trevor Lawrence was a little crowned. I think that I do think Jalen Hurts was also crowned, especially the best year he had, he lost the MVP because he was hurt.
Yeah.
Because he's a running quarterback. But everyone just ignored that.
I remember I was at fault. I got enamored with it. I'm kind of doing C.J. Stroud right now, and that's why I'm almost wanting to pump the brakes. But I feel like C.J. Stroud is I feel like C.J. Stroud's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, and I firmly believe that. I think if you had to give me who's going to have a step back, him or Jordan Love, I get Jordan Love's going into his 4th year now, right? I'd say Jordan Love would take a step back before I would say C.J. Stroud took a step back. Because I think Jordan Love can sometimes throw a little bit more of those YOLO balls, right? I think there's a chance for he has more variance than C.J. Stroud. Even though C.J. threw a lot of deep balls, it felt like they were a little more accurate than Jordan. I just think it's a good conversation to have and some perspective to have because those are the two teams that looking to take a huge step forward.
Yeah.
The Packers, you were high on them last year, right?
Yep. I'm high on Jordan Love. Again, if track record serves.
You and I did good on our pick. You had Jordan Love and the Packers. I had C.J. Stroud and the Texans.
Yeah, and we both had C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young. So
yes, we both did.
I don't know. I agree with you that if I was betting on a regression, it would be Jordan Love, only because C.J. Stroud was so impressive as a rookie that you don't expect it. But I don't think either of them will, because Jordan Love is almost a veteran in terms of service in the NFL, whether you played or not. He's like a fourth-year player now. Like, this is why the contract situation's happening with him, is because they really have one more year to get this done. And it's interesting because the Packers seem to be wanting to get it done before them, because I think they believe that he's going to have a really good season, and that'll make it even much more harder for them
to
pay him, and be able to maneuver and have a good cap space. Because if they let it go through this season and he beats the 49ers, let's say, in the divisional round, he didn't even have to get to this. I mean, just what were they in the divisional round last year?
Yeah.
You
take a step, one step forward.
The big bad wolf that Aaron Rodgers could never get past, and he almost did last year.
Yep.
Which would have been the worst season of Aaron Rodgers' life. You tear your Achilles week 4. Nobody cares about the
Snap
Jets.
Snap 4.
Yeah, snap 4. Nobody cares about the Jets all season, and the guy that replaced you got the team that you used to quarterback over the hump against a team you never could. So I think that Jordan Love, if he does that this year without a contract, they're going to have to pay him, $60 million a year plus.
Yeah. I mean, you saw what Trevor Lawrence got, and Trevor Lawrence, again, had one playoff game. Great comeback against the Chargers, but...
And if Jamal Agnew doesn't fumble the ball in the red zone against us, then what happens?
It's football, though, man. I mean,
I agree.
you can make those... What if Zay Flowers
totally
did...
Totally
what if Zay... what if Garoppolo made that throw?
Yeah.
But it's also like, well, they didn't, because, great teams make great plays.
Right.
Yeah. AFC North to be featured on in-season version of Hard Knocks. So that means the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Browns, starting on December 3rd.
Casting a wide net. I like it. They're trying to get a Super Bowl team or a deep playoff run in one of those things. And going with one team, it's not really smart, because that one team could be good, but the cameras in the place and all.
Well, even
footage.
the Jets, they thought it was going to be a great time, and the Jets collapsed because of the injury.
Yeah, they were the Jets.
I thought it was the Bears this year. Was I wrong?
So there's 3. There's off-season Hard Knocks, which is the Giants.
Yes.
That's new. The training camp, regular one that's always been on, that's the Bears. It's training camp only.
Okay.
In season is this. It was last year. It was the Cardinals.
I didn't even watch that.
No one did. That's why they're kind of doing this too.
Yeah, it makes way more sense.
If you have a bigger net, you might get a couple good teams, especially in this division. But this is new. They've been doing the end season, but they've never done 4 teams at once.
This will be great, because it starts December 3rd, and it runs through the playoffs. So you're right. However long they go.
Yeah, they're casting a wider net for their end season, which is smart.
I mean, the AFC West, you would legit just do the Chiefs then at that point, right? It would just be the Chiefs, because...
I don't know. I mean, Harbaugh in Charger land is very
and Antonio Pierce,
yes.
but then Sean Payton. I get the AFC West would have been probably a decent choice, but I like Lamar, Joe Burrow, Deshaun, and then Russell / Justin Fields.
And Mike Tomlin. Just the Steeler brand.
This is going to be a really, especially because they play the rivalry games so hard. Like, yes, the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Raiders, but it does feel like the AFC North turns back the clock into like 1930s football.
And don't we play the NFC North? I know we play the Ravens and Steelers.
You play the Steelers. So
so the back half of the season, you'll see the Chiefs on this.
Browns. What week is the Browns? Let me look it up.
But yeah, you'll see the Chiefs on this a lot. And guess what? That's a ratings booster as well. So you'll see a lot of Chiefs footage, because they'll make almost a whole episode out of it.
So December 3rd is when it starts, right? December 3rd.
Yeah.
Chiefs play in Cleveland December 15th. They play at the Steelers on Christmas. So they wanted to make sure they got 2 of those Chiefs games
And then the Ravens play Stroud and the Texans as well on Christmas week.
Correct. Yeah, that's going to be electric. Yeah. That's you recall that? Good planning, baby. Good planning. Do you watch Hard Knocks every time? Are you a big Hard Knocks guy?
No.
I think the last one I watched, the full one, was the Chiefs. Was it Brody Croyle?
I think the last one I watched
06?
was the Browns when Baker was there. And Hugh Jackson.
Yes, in the hut gut.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackson gave that impassioned speech in the coaches' meeting room that really got the boys together.
Yeah. We'll take a break. Come back. The Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHP. All right, welcome back to the Zone. Sports Radio 810 at WHB. Mick Schaefer joins next. Talking Royals, Chiefs, nonsense, and also the best, funniest, and learned. We're doing it backwards this time. No Jason, anything goes. And I just realized I am going to get yelled at. I forgot a snackle. I forgot to go to QT. Dylan, you're good because, you're still alive and you're a bet. You're not a dumbass. You're smart. He's going to be so mad at me. Dallas, Boston tonight in Boston, 7:30 Game 5. Dylan's alive. Not me. I'm sorry, Mick. I'm sorry.
Midwestern family since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, welcome back to the Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michael, Mick Schaefer.
What's up, boys? We're missing him again. He's never coming back.
I think, you know how he kept going through co-hosts.
Now we're just going through hosts.
Now we're going through hosts.
I've been the one damn staple around here, okay? I mean, I've been the consistent guy that comes in consistently Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays sometimes.
Yeah, you're known for that.
Yeah.
The sometimes, too. Yeah. I forgot your snackle, and I'm sorry.
It's never going to be paid.
We're
still up in the air, Dylan. Although I think it's over tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate them for trying to make it dramatic and at least give me some hope.
My son calls it a gentleman's sweep.
That is correct. That is what it is called.
You didn't text me, though, so it's not all my fault. You could have texted me because you were going to say what you wanted.
Yeah.
At like 9:45. Or no, 9:20 would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great if you could do that Wednesday or Friday. I want to be a man that pays my bets. I just don't know what you want.
Maybe when Jason gets back in, once I get here, I'll send you on an errand. You just go get it and bring it back.
I could do it
like
now,
that
and you
idea.
could take the sticks.
No, thanks.
You know,
I'm
you
good.
don't want to host this. Just you and Dylan just vibing for 20 minutes.
No, I don't know what we'd talk about today. I didn't put any any research or effort into today's.
Oh, in particular,
show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. No, I'm glad, Mick.
I feel that
appreciate
there's
it.
a lot of built-in research and effort there because I worked yesterday and I watch sports. So
Oh, you do watch sports.
I
Okay.
do. Yeah.
Sometimes I question that. I didn't know.
Well, I'm looking out. I'm trying to find the Royals games these days. I don't have the app because 5 days out of the week I'm at work, and so we have Spectrum. So the games are on Spectrum.
I'm a cable man myself. That's right.
Yeah, you're old school. Yeah, you probably got the antennas, not on the antennas, and so but more Fridays and Saturdays. I'm having to reach out, either going to buddies' houses or maybe we'll go get some dinner at a bar around that time when the Royals are playing. So that's exciting. I might break down and be a Bally's guy here soon.
Wow.
If they kind of keep this up. But yeah, so I do watch it. This is the most Royals baseball I've watched. Probably I'm not like Jason. Jason, I believe, even in the lean years, watches every inning of every game.
Yeah, that's pretty much me.
That's not me.
Big baseball guy. Big baseball guy.
This is time you don't ever get back. Just a heads up.
That's right. They won't.
But see, you guys don't understand. Well, you can get a lot done whilst watching Royals games
So
because
it's background noise.
No.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a ceiling fan for you. What
it's
is
like
that?
every in between the innings, like just so every half inning.
No, I think we understand how commercials work.
Yeah,
in
I just
baseball.
do stuff.
We do
You have
understand
2
that,
minutes. You have 2 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll start a little laundry. I'll do the dishes. I'll get stuff done around the house whilst I'm watching said
So what
Boys in Blue.
you do housework 3 hours a day every day?
I pretend to do housework 3 hours a day
Interesting.
every single day.
As
It
Dylan
makes me
says, you're
feel
not
good.
getting those hours back.
Yeah, but I'll fold. I'll do laundry. I'll fold clothes. I'll do the dishes.
Again, they play every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do dishes almost.
You have
every
lots
single,
of dishes, huh?
I-
How many dishes do you dirty by yourself per
Well,
meal?
me and my fiance.
For two
so
people,
I'm
then,
trying to
okay,
be
yeah.
romantic over here, and I'm trying to take care of that as well.
Okay.
I'll read in between innings, so I'll read a
So
couple
you do
pages.
21 hours of housework roughly a week?
No,
It's a lot.
sometimes. Well, games don't go 3 hours anymore. Thank you, pitch clock.
So you're mad at us because when we were doing chores when they weren't winning, we just didn't turn on the TV in the background.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, learn
Now-
about the.
But before this year, I
New
bet I would
wave.
watch. During the games at work, whatever, I'll watch almost all of them. But I bet I watched. I bet I was 30 to 40% of the innings. That's maybe a bad thing for the sports guy to admit. We'll go 40 to 50. Now I'm like 90,
Yeah.
89, 85, 90 of the innings I've seen this year.
Yeah.
So, every game, but like almost every inning.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than those West Coast games
Oh,
during
agreed.
like this time because you can go right from the NHL Stanley Cup Finals or the NBA Finals. or
Friday was great.
Hate
College
it.
World Series. Yeah.
Hate
Oh,
it. You like the
beautiful.
West Coast games? You guys
Yes.
are psychos.
Yeah, because you can watch it in bed.
Yeah, I'll give you the iPad and throw that bad boy on and watch it in bed.
You don't like doing laundry at 11 o'clock
Yeah, I'm
at
not
night?
doing laundry at 11. Well, sometimes I'll do push-ups, work out a little bit during.
Age.
What, Mick?
Nothing.
Nothing like getting your heart rate up.
I would call them humble brags, but I don't know where the humble part is. I read books. I do push-ups between. Yeah.
It hasn't worked,
we got
obviously.
We got it. Yeah.
Well, they coexist with the bourbon and beer. It's just maintaining at this point. I'm not
Sterling,
progressing.
you're the most interesting man in the world.
I didn't say I was, Mick.
You wanted somebody to say
I
it.
wondered where those commercials went.
Yes,
to be honest.
They found the real one. Will you volunteer at a soup kitchen between innings? Will you run 5 miles between innings? Is that the next thing to come out?
I'm just trying to be.
I donate to kids in Africa between innings.
I do water the garden.
Jesus.
Okay, I trying to live off the land, Mick. Sustainability guy, learn about it.
Here's what I've heard: you waste a lot of time. That's what I've heard.
Big time waster.
You're reading, push-upping, and all the laundry and dishes you do all the time, nonstop.
I like it clean. What's wrong with that? Gosh, Mick.
Anyway, I'm watching a lot more Royals these days, and I appreciate the team for allowing me to do that. 5-7 in those 12 games, acceptable. I'll allow it.
The 2-5. It's funny. I was so angry at the 2-5, but I remember looking back at what would you like to have happen? I go 3-4, and you're like, that's only one.
What are you talking
game
about? The Yankees and the
Dodgers.
Yeah.
That series. So we had our what would be constitute a
because Jason said he'd settle out of court for 2 wins of the next 5 games. Right, we had 2 more Yankees games left, and we had 3 with the Dodgers.
And they did.
They did.
Yeah, I thought 3-4, but 2-5. It's one game in the grand scheme of things against the 2 best teams probably in baseball. I think there's a lot to take away that, the Royals are not quite there yet, obviously. They're not there with the 2 of the highest spending teams in baseball as well.
Right.
And you also saw where some of the weaknesses lie. Yes, the bullpen, some of the starting pitching, corner outfielder, while, yes, they helped you in a game with the grand slam from MJ, you still need to extend the lineup as you get 3 hits overall against someone like Tyler Glasnow.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was a good 2 series to really see where the Royals stack up.
I think it was too. And look, they continue to be kind of what they are, a team that beats the bad teams and a team that's kind of not quite there yet with the best in baseball. But you can be that team and still make the playoffs. And it's baseball, so weird things can happen once you make the playoffs. We've seen that with the Royals before, although it's been a long, long time since they've made the playoffs. But we've seen them. Man, you just get in the tournament, you never know what's going to happen. And so I think they're in great position to do that. It's like, okay, can they now finish off this month, which has been their quote-unquote roughest month so far? Can they finish it strong, beating below 500 teams in Oakland and Texas here before, is it Cleveland again after that? I know they're at the end of the month. But finish this road trip strong, win a couple series against those 2 teams, kind of get right back on track.
Yeah. I do want to talk golf with you because you're a big golfer, and I thought that was one of the more interesting U.S. Opens in recent memory. I don't think if you're a golfer, you're going to understand fully the shot that Bryson had on 18, that 55-yard bunker shot. I don't know how they broke this down. I saw on Twitter, was it Lou Stagner or whatever that guy's name is? He does a lot of those analytic stuff. 1.7% chance of getting that shot within 4 feet, and he got it within.
Wait, is that
4 feet.
1.7% chance for PGA golfers or for any golfer?
I'm assuming PGA golfers.
That seems low considering
4 feet.
Johnson Wagner did it live on television that night. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. As Bryson was,
coming by.
You can't. That was
really
insane.
good. But yeah, that's
he bladed one by the way before.
He did. He got a second shot.
Yeah,
so
he bladed the first one.
And he's not. I think a lot of people thought he's just a reporter. No, he's a PGA professional. He's a pro golfer out there. Been out there for a long time. So it's 55 yards. I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they do it. I mean, the perfect distance right is one thing. Those guys are so good out of the sand. I mean, he was probably aiming for the sand on that second shot right when he's in the gunch because he talked about it. He said, I didn't want to hit the clubhouse, run it past the green. So it's almost like he dumped it there on purpose.
Yeah.
And they feel so secure in the sand. But then just to get it to stop, right? Just to get it, take that first big bounce on the decline for his big bounce towards the hole, and then it starts checking up and then releasing out just absolutely perfectly. I have no idea. I can understand how
The physics.
well, I can understand how guys are great at football and even basketball and baseball. I can figure out, okay, this is what he has. Okay, I got it. I can wrap my arms around it. I can't figure out how those guys are that good on the PGA Tour. Can't do it. It's amazing.
What was Rory's putt? How many feet?
Less than
18?
4. No,
the losing one. The one that he.
On 18?
Yeah.
It was less than 4. Both were less than 4.
both were less than 4. One was like 36 inches.
The one on 16 was easier than the one broke on 18. It looked like more than the one on 16. One on 16 was just a brain fart, and then he let his putt on 16 ruin his putt on 18.
Yeah.
Like I let my Mondays ruin my Sundays all the time.
So McIlroy on 16, it was 2.5 foot.
Jeez.
And he had not missed a putt inside 3 feet all season long.
All season long, and then all tournament long. I think it was under 5. He hadn't missed.
Yeah, he was 49 of 49 or something like that. It was.
So I was going to ask what was the lower percentage? Him missing that putt on 18 or Bryson?
I think it's even
Probably
lower than
lower.
1%.
Yeah,
it's even lower than
yeah.
1% for Rory missing that. And I mean, just like you just miss one of those, you're going to a playoff. You make both, which you
win.
have your entire career. You win.
And if you honestly missed both, you probably think you're still going to a playoff because
And when he's in the sand, I'm like, okay, I was excited. Let's go have a playoff. We
Yeah.
hadn't had one
When
of
he
those
was looking
forever.
at the fence and had to hit over that branch that was coming out of the ground was when I thought, okay, this is a playoff here.
I love that they did not give him relief, first and foremost. I know he asked for it because you're going to ask for relief of the grandstand, right?
Right.
And I love the announcer who's like, I guarantee they said no because they're probably saying they've not seen you hit a cut in 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's not your normal
Did
shot.
you notice
Jake.
that shot hit a guy's butt? Hit one of the Marshall's butts out there, and it might have rolled up closer to the grandstand had it not done that.
Probably would have helped him because then you probably would have gotten relief from the grandstand, so you
Maybe,
you wouldn't have had a tree in your backswing. So honestly, that may have been because I know there's a lot of talk of Bryson got to let good luck go his way, which I do think to win a tournament you're gonna have some luck go your way, some lies. But that was not a good lie.
Even the pros, they get more bad luck thrown their way than good luck. I tell you, those guys, it was not a good lie. And anybody that's played before, when you have to shorten your backswing, and then when you get up there, you always take a longer backswing, and then you hit the branch.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to bring it back down
And
hit the
you
ball
don't stop.
flush. You can't do it.
You don't stop. You
go
keep going.
And so, we've all been there before, and he was there to win a major, and the fact that he got it, from that spot to the sand, up and down, all that in 3 shots is amazing under pressure. And so, he's legit.
What do you make of Bryson, though, in general? Because he's so polarizing. And my thought was, whatever your thoughts are on Bryson, you can't say he's not entertaining.
Yeah.
If you think he's a nerd, if you think he's a tryhard, if you think he's just this maniacal guy who's egotistical almost to an extent, you can think all those things and still find yourself saying, he's damn fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad or maybe pretty good about not basing my opinions of people on social media clips or media press conferences or just sound bites, right? These tiny little slivers of their lives that most of us are like, well, he said this in these 20 seconds. This 20-second window of his life that I've interacted with him, he said that. So he is either great or awful, right? I try not to do that. There's been so many times where I'm like, man, John Calipari seems like an awesome dude, right? Charlie Weiss, they're so great in these sound bites, these press conferences. And then you talk to people closer to him like, no, that's a show they're putting on. Or Bo Pelini, who's a red ass, right, at pressers, and then talk to people closer to him like, he's one of the greatest dudes. He's the night he just doesn't like the media. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I kind of get that. And so I don't know. Everybody keeps bringing it up about Bryson, about how he was this surly kind of prick or just this isolated kind of guy in his own world for years, and now he's out doing TikTok videos, right?
Yep.
And signing autographs, and I guess he wasn't doing that before. I don't know. It could be a sign of him, changing his mood or his game or his brand or all that, or it could just be a sign of him growing up, right?
Sure.
He came on the scene very young. You're different at age 30 or whatever he is now Then you're at 20 at 19. And so that could be he doesn't want the Tam O'Shanter anymore.
Well,
and he's
part of that
jacked. There's that part too.
I think part of it though was in honor of Payne Stewart. They were talking about
he loved the SMU guy. That's why he wore it.
connection and all that stuff, which I thought was really cool. Back there, obviously, where Payne Stewart closed it out.
Yeah,
what was it, 25 years prior than SMU back to back? I thought it was pretty cool for Bryson, especially since he talked about how much he grew up idolizing Payne.
I still have not gotten used to his one plane swing and his putting form. Just watching him putt makes me want to tackle a horse. I'm just like, this is
It's so tense.
And it's so perfect and like mechanical and robotic, and
yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be if
it
we're going to
goes
see more in
against
those.
everything you feel like you're taught when you're putting. Like, be loose, don't be tense and everything. And he just looks like he is wound tighter than.
It's funny. Tom Watson. They had the ALS golf tournament a couple Mondays ago out at Lionsgate, and he always before that gives like little lessons to everybody, and they're great. And so he decided to give like a little chipping and putting lesson out there on the practice screen beforehand. And he said he had just. It wasn't from Bryson or anybody in his camp, but it was from like an old coach. He was struggling putting recently. The guy's played golf for 70 years now, right? Recently. And he said he got a tip to basically straighten his arms and do the one plane thing, right? From shoulders all the way down to club head. He's like, I couldn't believe how accurate it was and how easy it was and how much better I read these greens or it kept the line and all that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Tom Watson's learning stuff at age 70-something or whatever he's at, and then also that's the science of what
74
the scientist Bryson DeChambeau does. So I'm scared to try that out there. George Brett afterward was like, I tried that on greens. I was making every putt.
Well, I know what I need to do now.
There we go.
I'm a Team Rory guy where I lip everything out. I'm a big lipper.
I've never missed a putt inside 3 feet either.
I don't believe you.
I just pick them up.
Yep.
I knew there had to be something there because
I was going to say same for the
I just pick them up. Never missed that putt. It's always counted.
How much of this? How much does this say about Rory? Not just the 2 missed putts, but then also the post. I get being pissed off, and once that goes in, you don't want to talk to media. You want to bail. It just seemed like a culmination of, man, you seem like a great guy. Like seems like a fun guy, easy to root for, fun to watch, small guy, pounds the ball, energetic, and then you do stuff like that. You choke, and then you leave, and everyone just sit there going, well, damn.
Yeah. So he didn't even talk to any press afterward?
No. He sped out of the players' parking lot in a courtesy SUV less than 10 minutes later, did not talk to the media, according to ESPN.
No, I get it. He's so close after. We won 4 of his first 15 majors, I think, right? Something like that. And then nothing since, and to be so close and to have it go that way. I think it's the putts, right, have got to be so different than, all right, you hook a ball right in the gunch.
Yeah.
OB, right?
If he
it's
sinks
different.
those putts and then Bryson beats him, I'm sure he stays and shakes his hand.
Right.
I think it's the fact that you choked.
Or if he lands it on 18, as we saw so many times on so many holes, right in the middle of the green, and then it trickles off like 40 yards downhill, right? I think that's different. That happens all the time. It's happened to everybody there. I think he handles it differently. This is more just like, wait, what? What was my excuse this time? Why did I not win this one? 2 putts inside of 4 feet. Those are the reasons why I didn't win. So I get he's frustrated. I like Roy most of the time. I thought he became kind of sanctimonious on the full swing stuff with the Ryder Cup and and all that stuff, and with the the PGA and the Live stuff, being hypercritical of those guys leaving to go to a competing organization. When that's what your sport is, it's what life is. It's all about competition.
And then the league just did the
and
thing.
then the league was like, and then hung him out to dry. But I agree, he's a likable guy, and I don't know if I have like a favorite golfer. I like most. It's like movies. I like most movies I go see. I like most golfers.
Yeah, same.
They're out there, so I cheer for a lot of those guys. I'd cheer for history, right? I wanted to see. It says I wanted to see a playoff because we haven't had one in. God, how long was it?
They said that it would have been the first. I think Was it the first ever at the U.S. Open? Would have been a
Well,
No, 'cause
Tiger
Tiger-
and Rocco mediate.
Tiger. Yeah, they came back and played the next day,
They
right?
played 18 holes the next
Yeah.
day.
I thought they said something about this would be the first aggregate playoff in Open history or something like that.
Well, they changed the format, right? Because they weren't going to come back today and play. They were going to keep playing, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
It used to be you went back and played
The
an
next
entire
day.
round. That's dumb.
Maybe
What are we
That was,
doing?
no, that was awesome. You know, that 08 playoff between Tiger and Rocco mediate
Well-
was one of the coolest.
Well, look back. He had a broken leg, right?
Yeah.
And the putt he had to hit to go to that playoff.
And Rocco mediate's like cheering him on, by the way. Rocco's like, yeah.
yeah. But no, another day and 18 more holes. That's excessive. Let's go play 16, 17, 18, or whatever the format is.
so
Go
maybe
back to
that's
18.
what they meant. Maybe this was the
Yeah,
first
I think so. And
aggregate.
it's crazy. What have there been? There have been 1,000 USGA events now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Wow, I forgot about that. They after 18, they still were tied again.
Oh, were they?
If you remember, if everyone remembers the 18, so they traded the lead back 3 times in the front 9. Tiger built a three-stroke lead and then threw 10, and then mediate rallied on the back 9 with 3 consecutive birdies, which gave him a 1-stroke lead heading into 18. So that's the putt was a playoff hole.
How many? Does he just have
He
one
birdied.
major since then? Does he just have the
Tiger
Masters?
the Masters?
Was that the last one he won for forever?
I don't know for sure, but that's pretty damn cool. And then they had to play another hole. So
No, golf's in great hands. I mean, Scheffler's just amazing, and I guess took a week off here or whatever. The greens were messing with certain types of players that are great players that they just couldn't figure them out, couldn't read them.
Well, and as you mentioned, just landing on the green, and all of a sudden you had to find your landing zone, and you had to hit it. It was, and they were talking about Cantlay. You're right. I couldn't agree more. Cantlay looked like he was having the least amount of fun out there, and he was somehow he got third.
Yeah,
and he
third.
looked like he was just miserable. He's like, this sucks.
Yeah, when your rounds take 6.5 hours, it kind of does that to you.
It's
so.
true.
It's true. Good point.
I'm the opposite of a lot of people. A lot of people love to see these great players struggle and win the U.S. Open at -2, and almost
I do.
everybody else
I
is
do.
over par. I like to see him obliterate courses. Give me 20 under.
But
Give me a chance. 16, 17, 18. Give me chances at birdie every single time so we can see as much drama as possible.
But you get to see that any other week of the year.
Yeah, I like those weeks.
So every week, I like the 2 weeks out of the year. Give me I
The
thought
U.S. Open rough and the greens and all that.
and I even thought there was a little much. The greens were a little much this year. Like a couple of Rory shots in particular. I'm not sitting here going, that's pretty silly. Like that's
so many of them were
that's-
silly. I mean, he
that's
lands right in the middle of the
silly.
green, pin high, and then 30 seconds later, that ball's done rolling downhill.
Yeah, again, that's not every hole, and you have to know your landing spots. I get that, but I thought at times it was a little much. I think there's other ways of doing it though, whether it's thicker rough. I love the bunkers. I like the semi-dried out greens to an extent too. It did make it interesting, and again, it made it interesting with Rory. A 3-footer isn't a gimme.
Yeah.
A 3-footer, 2 of them made the difference.
That's a match play tournament. Those are pick them up. Pick them up.
I don't
right?
think.
Moving
I think the one on 16 is a pickup. I think on 18, no matter who you're playing against, you're putting that one out with that break because Rory, whether he pushed
started
it
outside
or,
of the hole.
he started
Yeah,
outside
yeah.
the hole and that thing snapped. And it was funny if you heard the announcers, they go, "I think he's left center," but even if you go center, I think it sneaks in the right side. No bleeping chance if that starts out center, that's going in the right side. How hard are you hitting that, Ricky
Well, yeah, I
Fowler?
was gonna say if you hit it hard enough, you take away all the break. But no, that's it's unfortunate, right? I don't want to see somebody lose the U.S. Open as much as somebody won it, but I don't know, he's still got a good life. He'll win some more. He'll win some
About
more.
a 10-year.
What's the next major?
10-year Open.
The British?
Yep.
It's the Open.
European,
yeah.
yeah.
It's always the British. It's
Is
still
it
the
at
British
St.
Open to
Andrews
me.
every year, or is it
No, it's
No,
different.
I don't know if it's Carnoustie this year. Do you know where it's at?
I don't.
Because it feels like the PGA
It's the last one.
Championship
It used to be the PGA, and they moved it COVID times, I think, moved it up.
Royal Troon, by the way. It's at Royal Troon.
So they're all like condensed now more. They're closer together.
Gotcha.
Used to the PGA was much later.
Because it feels like the PGA is the only tournament where Mick can get his wish, where it's like it could be easy as hell, and you have a
usually
20,
and it's the most random guys that usually win.
Which one's
the PGA?
The PGA.
Yeah.
But then the other three are they're very hard courses.
Yeah.
Well,
every year.
the Open's always based on the weather. If the weather's not windy, you can go low. If it's windy, it's fun.
Yeah. If you can avoid pot bunkers.
Mix, you don't like avoiding those though, do you? You just take the bunkers off.
No, I hit out of bunkers. I don't mind sand. I'm not quite as good as DeChambeau, but I don't mind sand.
Not quite.
It's just let's swing a little bit harder and don't hit the ball.
Golf lessons from Mick, huh?
That's right. Get you wait the bounce, right? You want to open that club face up,
get the bounce.
open up towards the hole, get that bounce, right? And just make sure you don't hit ball first, which I'm pretty good at that, as it turns out. Slide that thing about 2 inches short of the ball and swing a little bit harder. Then close your eyes because the sand's coming back at you.
We'll take a break, come back, learned, funniest, best, The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to the Zone. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer. Jason just said he didn't want to spend. He needed a couple of days off from you, Friday and Monday off from you.
And Sunday, he was supposed to be on Sunday Sound Off.
Wow, and he bailed.
Well, he was sick, he said. And, he bailed before that because his kid had a baseball tournament.
Do you think that he's playing hooky, or it's like Ferris Bueller style?
You have strep. Strep takes a while. Strep's a bee, man. I hate a sore throat.
Yeah.
And he talks with his throat. So.
How else do you talk?
I'm saying.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, you talk with, like, your gut is so guttural. You starts at your knees and all
I get down
like
there. I get down there.
Yeah.
You know.
You do.
Well, that's how you're supposed to.
No, I feel like you're just supposed to talk like you talk.
No. You get it down from your
diaphragm.
Your diaphragm.
Yeah.
Come on. Grow up, Mick.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Learned funniest best. Who goes first? Is this me?
It is.
Okay. I learned that people don't know what must win means. I was walking in here today, waltzing in, and a little 3-4. I was waltzing. It was 3-4 time signature when I was waltzing in. And I see on the good old television on what's it, FS1, is tonight a must-win game for the Celtics. The Celtics are up 3-1. Do people not know what must-win game means?
For me to win my Snackle bet with Dylan, it is absolutely must-win.
That's what
I
they
don't
meant.
think they were talking about your and Dylan's Snackle game. How the hell is a team up 3-1? How is that a must-win game for the team that is winning?
Well, I didn't watch, and nor would I. I don't embrace debate. But I'm guessing it is the similar trope to what they usually say in these must-win scenarios, which is a common theme in the embrace debate culture of, like, hey, if they lose this one, Dallas definitely is going to win that game 6 right back at home. And so this could be it. This is what's what we talked about, right? It's a pivotal game 5 here.
That's my whole point. It's so damn silly. It's not a must-win. It's a must-win for Dallas. Because you know what happens if they don't win? The season's over.
Well, listen, you got to qualify must-win for what? In these guys' scenario, it might be, is this a must-win?
For a Snackle bet? No.
No.
Dumb.
It's a must-win for if they don't win, the series changes, right? The whole complexion of the series changes. I'm sure that's kind of what they get at. But
my point
usually,
is
yes, typically and logically and literally, that it is not a must-win.
It's like
all.
When people are like, he literally ripped his head off. And you're like, no, you shouldn't be saying that. He figuratively did. He didn't literally rip his head off.
You know what? The Mavericks are going to continue to live and live great lives if they lose, so it's technically not must-win for them.
That's a true point.
It's must-win if you want to win the series.
Yeah.
But overall, you know what? For life, we're good. No,
well, I don't know, man. Who knows? It could be a serious situation.
None of this is important, really. Yeah.
Wow. Dark. All right. What did you learn, Mick?
My
I learned
turn.
that you're very. That's kind of impressive.
I learned how many golf courses were at Pinehurst. How many golf courses are on this golf course? Do you know? It's a golf resort. I had no idea.
I'll say 4.
10.
Wow.
Actually, 10.5. There are 10 18-hole courses and 1 9-hole course there. And, like, people have, like,
is Tobacco Road also?
I don't know where that is in relation to Tobacco Road. I know it's in the middle of North Carolina, but North Carolina's a long state. There's mountains, there's coast, there's all that stuff. But Pinehurst has 10 golf courses, and some people have gathered up enough change to go and try to play all 10. And it's hard because some are more expensive than others, hard to get on. I think this was Pinehurst number 2.
Yeah, number 2 is the most
number
famous
2,
one,
right? Yeah. And so 10 of those bros.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. It looks like there's 9 18-hole golf courses, each simply named by a number, and a 9-hole short course.
So it's 10 total. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So 9.5. But yeah, that's a lot. And I just wonder, were there Sunday bros just out there playing on Pinehurst number 3? Was North Carolina Sterling and his bros out there on Pinehurst number 7 playing around?
Just vibing on number 8.
While the biggest golf tournament in the world was going on number 2?
Number 2 was also Donald Ross. Number 3, and Robert Trent Jones. Nice. And then course number 3 was Ross. Huh. Interesting. 9 is Jack Nicklaus, the designer.
Poor 1, man. 2 up station 1.
Yeah,
what happened to 1?
Was Dr. Leroy Culver.
Well, never heard of him.
And the second 9 was John Dunn Tucker. It's also 6,000 yards. So I don't think they're playing number 1.
Yeah, they would eat that one up.
Yeah, number 2's 70, basically 600 yards. So
76.
Yeah, 75, 88.
And that's listed. I bet it is 200 to 300 yards longer from, because they go to the tips at these courses and then they mow back, right? They go back 20 or 30 yards back.
Yeah. All right. So you learned about they have 10 golf courses. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. I learned that.
All right. What did you learn, Dylan?
So I learned via Sarah Langs on Twitter that MJ Melendez's Grand Slam had the 3rd most pitches before the Grand Slam with 12 in the history of baseball
of Grand
going
Slams.
back to 88 when they actually started
Wait,
tracking
one more
it.
time. Do it one more time.
Yeah. MJ Melendez had the 3rd most pitches in an at-bat before a Grand Slam since they started
12.
tracking it in 1988
I think,
with 12.
was it Barry Larkin was the last one in 92 with 13 pitches?
Gary Scott.
Who was it?
Gary Scott was
Gary
the
Scott,
first
okay.
one in 92 with 13, and the guy we were playing, Mookie Betts, was the most
Betts,
recent
that's
in
right,
18
yeah.
with 13 as well.
Wow.
So he's 1 pitch off from tying the lead.
Well, he's got a better chance to do it more recent than Mookie.
And he
I
did.
feel
He
bad
was
for
the
Mookie.
6th inning, right?
Breaking his hand.
Sonic Slam inning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This lady won.
Wow.
Started an article on her.
Sonic just won, or just is getting crushed now.
I
$25K.
think they'll probably survive.
Yeah,
That's a
cut that
lot.
in half as well.
Yeah.
Wait, why did you cut that in half? Is it like a gift card? Like, what if they just hand you a $25,000 gift card
It's
to
all
Sonic?
for cherry limeades.
Yeah, that would allow you get a lot of cherry limeades.
A lot.
I mean, it's a gift card, no, but if it's money, we know
Tots.
why you cut it in half, right?
Tots. You know how many tots I'd get there?
Uncle Sam is why you
Yes.
cut it in half.
Well, that's rude. Not a fan of Uncle Sam. It's kind of mean.
But he is. Government
Steals.
takes a bite.
Yeah, they steal. I don't like it.
Taxation is theft.
Yeah. I will say though, I wish it was a gift card because that'd be very funny if it's a $25,000.
You can only use it at
You can only
Sonic.
use it at Sonic. You better hope you don't lose the gift
You
card.
just
That would
wear
suck.
you just like wear out the one franchise that's over here up to 21st.
I'm
Can
taking
you
it-
please take this to another Sonic?
Yes, I'm taking it to one Sonic, the whole 25 grand.
and you spend like maybe $5,000 at a time. We got a birthday party. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna
You guys
need
cater?
A lot of
You guys
burgers.
cater here?
Lot of burgers.
so many extra long conies.
All right, funniest. Is that
That's
is that
me.
Nick? Nick?
Yeah, it's me. So the funniest was seeing those Aggie Bros at the College World Series get escorted and kicked out of the College World Series after they were just harassing the Florida manager for stuff that may or may not have happened in his personal life, and then mentioning like a dead bat boy and all that stuff. And so they, and then the Omaha police themselves took a picture of them and said, "Happy to take care of these guys. They're never welcome back again at the College World Series. Hopefully not at any baseball game."
Wow.
Yeah. Did you see that, Dylan?
I sure did.
That's brutal.
It
man.
looked like it was almost a father and son too.
It was. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell by they
Oh.
look the exact same. One is
that's bad.
just 40 years older.
Why would you? What possesses someone to do something like that?
So whether it's a true story or a rumored story, I'm not going to get into it. But is this a backstory there based on the Florida?
I would say
manager.
that liquor and a rain delay
that as
are
well.
the
Yes,
best combination for
and being an A&M fan, that's like 7% of it. Yeah,
combo.
that, for sure.
Yeah. All right. I guess I did the funniest, and then is that me?
No, it's not Dylan.
See, without Jason here, we have no idea the order of.
I
things.
have the idea.
You have the
don't.
idea. I don't.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. You will start with him next for
Dylan,
best.
what was your funniest?
The funniest for me is it's a post on the Frisco Rough Riders page. A young man, he's about 5, it looks like, Mac, was doing a race against a rolling bacon and eggs plate for the First Watch sponsorship. It's basically like the Friezo chase.
The free, in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except he didn't stop. He did like a full lap down and back, and it caused a delay, but the whole stadium starts to rise and cheer, and you can see the bullpen getting out and cheering for it's awesome. It's a great video. I wouldn't play it because it would kill too much time, but go to John Boy or Frisco Rough Riders when you have a chance.
Rough Riders.
Great video.
My funniest is also baseball and also not in the major leagues. This dude thought he hit a home run in the minors. Oh, dude, he thought he hit it. He thought it was gone. It sounded gone. Bat flip.
Slow trot.
Pimped it. Slow trot. Pointed to the bullpen when he rounded second with a thumbs up.
The third base coach was just standing there. Didn't offer him a low
No.
five.
And then as he's halfway around home, he realizes that ball stayed in. Not only was it not a double, a triple,
No.
it was caught.
It was an out.
It was an out.
1 of 27.
There was so much wind, apparently. It didn't even get to the warning track. It was a good 20 feet short.
All the signs he had to miss there, right? All the just no awareness whatsoever of the left fielder tossing it back in.
None of it.
To the shortstop, get to the pitcher. The third base coach just kind of standing there, and he is doing his whole thing. He is in his own world.
Oh,
there.
dude, the bat flip coupled with just the rounding second and pointing to the bullpen, like letting them know, like, I got all that one. And then still don't realize it.
Nope.
And then he puts his head, he looks around like, what happened?
That was great.
That was my funniest. If you haven't seen that one, that's a real good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. So he starts best.
Oh, you start best, Dylan.
So the best for me.
I didn't know you did your funniest. Yours was only slightly funny.
I started, yeah.
Yeah, mine was not funny. The Tank Davis knockout is my best. Anytime you knock a dude out and then he starts to try and keep fighting, he's so like dazed and confused. Those are my favorite boxing knockouts, and he absolutely just has refrigerators for hands. So, yeah, he's must watch. Tank Davis.
My best. I got a 48 state flag from my great grandpa. He fought in World War II. Never met him, and we were at Father's Day yesterday, and my aunt, I guess it was my great aunt or something like that, and said that they wanted me to have. I'm the last Holmes. So I'm the last Holmes. So now I
got to carry on.
I got to carry it on.
You know how to procreate, right?
I do.
Okay, good.
I do. Yeah.
That's a hell of a best.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So it's pretty cool. So right now,
Is it framed already?
It's framed, but I got to get a.
Is it folded or is
it's
it?
Folded into like the triangle wood, but I got.
Okay, so got it at his fufuneral.
But is that what it would
A lot
be
of times that's
at
how
his
they present
funeral?
it, yeah.
Yeah, and then but I need to get a plaque on the back.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
he didn't get it like that at the funeral though. They didn't have it like that, so they just
So
put
48 state flag. Do you know the
48
two
flag.
states that were
It'd
missing?
be Hawaii and Alaska.
Nice job, yeah.
Yeah. I nailed that one.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's
So,
a really cool thing.
yeah.
That's awesome. And I would find out if that's your great aunt. I would thank her and say.
I did. Yeah, it was great aunt Janine.
Janine, okay.
Janine, and then that was my great grandpa Kermit. That was Kermit.
So, and you never met him.
No. I don't think my dad ever met him either. So it was my dad's dad's dad.
Well, I guess he would have died
probably in
before
World War II,
early
maybe.
50s, right?
Yeah.
Because that's when Hawaii and Alaska came in. Was it early 50s? That's really that's cool.
Yeah.
That's way better than my best.
What's your best?
Bobby's double play.
Basically, just
It was a sweet.
right
It was the best of the sports world there. That was amazing.
That was.
My jaw dropped. Time stopped, and that was. It would have maybe been my best with just one out, right? Without the double play, and then just the wherewithal to like, okay, my momentum's carrying me that way. I don't have enough on this throw to go to first.
I have to hit my cutoff.
We're gonna
guy.
cut off for this double play from short left field. Just
'Cause
Bobby
most
baseball.
guys in that situation.
Just gonna heave it. Just give it a
Exactly.
shot, right? But it's so for him to not only possess the greatest tools physically of anybody maybe in the game right now, but also have it upstairs at that level. That was amazing.
It reminded me a little bit of Escobar to Omar.
Yeah.
Remember that play, and that was thrown around all the time. That reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That play was
Great pull.
incredible. By the way,
It was a lot better play than Derek Jeter like shuffling it to home from like 5 feet
Yes,
away. That
yes.
like, oh God, he's the greatest.
you know why Derek Jeter had to do the jump throws?
Yes,
Because he had no range. You couldn't get there in
yes,
time.
I
No
know this.
range.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break. Come back. The Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If you're trying to save with massive discounts this month, Greenlight Dispensary has you covered. They're doing drops every Monday and Friday this June with deep discounts on flower, edibles, and vapes from local vendors. And today's Monday, and we only have 2 Mondays left, so get into Greenlight Dispensary before they close today and check out all the specials they're dropping. Or check them out online at greenlightdispensary.com. You can use one of their AI bud tenders or an in-store bud tender, and they can help you select through the different discounts on their menu today. You can also save by going to greenlightdispensary.com and joining their loyalty program. I was able to save $10 with my points this weekend with my order. So go check out Greenlight every Monday and Friday this June and tell them that 810 sent you to check out the massive discounts they'll be having for many of their amazing products this summer. And remember, not all cannabis is flower. At Greenlight Dispensary, they have a bunch of different amazing products. They have topical creams, pain patches, oils, chocolates, gummies, chips, lemonades, infused sodas, baked goods, and more. The possibilities are endless. So go check out their drops all month long and check them out today and see what they're dropping at Greenlight Dispensary at one of their 4 Casey area locations. Bannister Road in 435, Nolan Road in Independence, 135th and State Line is my location, or Harrisonville, Missouri. Or check them out and order online at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
I think Nick Schaefer. Jason should be back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see.
You hope so.
You hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think the listeners hope so too.
You got through it today, though.
We had fun today. Actually, I had a great time today. Me and Dylan, we partied.
Got through it. It's a Monday too, so
It was fun. Monday
after
tomorrow.
a holiday, if that counts as a holiday.
What was a
Father's
holiday?
Day.
Father's Day?
Father's
I
Day.
guess that's a holiday, yeah.
Ish.
We drank beer. That gets it's a holiday. If you drink beer on it, is it a holiday? I think the answer is yes. So every day
There's
then.
a lot of holidays.
A lot of
now.
holidays.
We just added a lot of holidays.
We added a lot.
Thursdays. There's 52 Thursdays now that are holidays.
Wednesdays. And
Yeah, not for me. I'm starting on Thursdays.
Well,
Yeah.
Monday Night Football.
Thursdays by Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. Tuesday morning gardening.
Program up next.